A night in with MauLer and the drinker, getting trashed with the web screen thinkers. A cheap night cause I'm feeling kinda thrifty, got a 10-pack of beers and a bottle of whiskey. Hop off the cork, have a glass of wine, I'll still say I'll be fine. Trouble walking in a straight line, but pour me a Pinot Noir. It's open bar with our hosts, MauLer and the critical drinker.
Well, hello, I believe that's our cue. Hey, everybody. How are we doing this evening?
Wonderful-ish. Yeah, we got a whole combination of news, different things that have happened. But I will say that the dampener, not to surprise anybody at all, was I watched half of the Rings of Power episode this morning, I think. And then I just left. I think I went to either to toilet or downstairs, and I just didn't continue. And then I was like, oh, fuck, open bar soon. I better finish it off.
This happens to me every time, man. I find myself just making excuses and going doing other stuff, just anything to avoid like watching this thing. I actually today, and I did this as well, like last week. I watched it in the gym and got a workout while I was watching it. I thought at least I'll get something productive out of this. But man, yeah, you got to suffer through it. You really do. You got to force yourself to watch it. And well, I'm glad you made it at the end.
Yeah, I did complete it. Don't worry. And some of the best things were saved for last in that episode, huh?
I mean, yeah, sure. We'll talk about them. There's plenty coming. There really is. But before we get started properly, it's become custom, as we always do. We want to give you a little bit of information about the year of our Lord. Well, in this case, 2010. So it'll be an open bar. 110. We're really getting up through them now. Yeah. I mean, normally I look for like big tech news and stuff, like major video games and stuff that were released that year of new like technological developments just to kick it off. There wasn't much in this case for 2010. The biggest thing was that the iPad was released. That was the very first time we got iPads.
Wow.
It was slightly more interesting from a movie perspective, though. The biggest movie of the year was Toy Story 3. That was just over $1 billion that made. Great way to round out the trilogy. I'm really glad they never made any more.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it, right? They definitely didn't make any after that. They wouldn't, because they wouldn't ruin that ending, right? That would be crazy.
It would be a crime if they did, right?
Yeah. Also, Alice in Wonderland was too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Like, I've got no memory of that movie whatsoever, really. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. It's just, you can't get away from those Harry Potter movies, man. They're always there. Inception was 4th, and then Shrek Forever After was 5th. So, kind of a mixed bag of stuff. But 2 animated movies in the top 5, which is kind of interesting. Also, the year that gave us Iron Man 2, Despicable Me, Tron Legacy, The Expendables, True Grit, and The Social Network, and Predators. So kind of kind of an interesting year. Yeah, I got a soft spot for Iron Man 2. I know people hate on it, but
I really like The Social Network. That film.
That is a good movie.
Some good shit.
Yeah. We also got Resident Evil Afterlife. This wasn't really in the top 5 or anything, but I was just surprised that it was even on the charts anywhere. But yeah, that made $300 million worldwide, which is not bad considering it was done on a budget of about $20. So well done. Yeah, it was another big year for the Wii as well. I was just kind of looking at some of the top games. I think the top 5 sort of multi-plats or individual platform games that were out that year. I think 3 of them came out on the Wii. I had the list there, but I still lost it there for a second. But we also got Red Dead Redemption that year and Mass Effect 2, which was quite nice.
Hey, yeah, there you go.
And God of War 3.
Hey,
yeah, favorite of yours? Yeah, a lot of hack and slash nonsense. Anyway, yeah, well, before it got serious. But anyway, well, there's more serious things to be discussed this evening, so I think we should assemble our panel and open up the bar for our guests. What do you reckon? All right. Well, in no particular order, we have got Space Ice, Nerdrotic, Grummz and Echo Chamberlain. Welcome to the bar, gentlemen.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, boys. Good to see you.
Hello.
Your first time on the bar, Space Ice, so welcome aboard, man. Good to have you here.
Thank you, sir.
I almost feel like, sorry, I've inhaled a bit of ice there.
All right. That's the most musical drink I've ever heard. It's like jingling.
I know, yeah. Hold on. There you go.
And also, you missed it, but
Christmas.
a Serbian film came out 2010. Everyone who hasn't seen it should go see it.
Oh, yeah. That's not one I'm keen to visit. Infamous, but yeah, man. I don't know. I almost feel like I want to just discuss other movies rather than get on to Rings of Power. I know it's coming. I know we're gonna have to get there eventually, but man, I feel like since I've got the connoisseur of like Steven Seagal movies, I would probably watch any of them rather than watch another episode of Rings of Power. Yeah, I'd probably stand by that. At least there's entertainment factor to be had from Steven Seagal flicks. You know?
Yeah, there's more to laugh at. It doesn't just make you sad.
Yeah. I do like the idea of a morbidly obese 70-year-old man who's still somehow doing black ops for the CIA in most of his movies. So it's
and the chicks all need him right
talented.
now. The good thing is there's so much of him to go around. So
Yeah.
you know, like
Yeah,
multiple
there you
women
go.
can have him simultaneously. He exists in many different time zones.
He will not take his clothes off, of course.
No.
Well, he's
Understand how that
nothing
works.
compared to this episode's Elf Elite Unit. Man, they were an imposing bunch in this episode.
Oh, that away
yeah.
team?
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait, I think I've got it. Because I had to go high tech with this one and take a photograph with my of my TV. But it just caught me. Hold on, let's see if we can bring it up here. Yeah, I just thought this perfectly summarizes the Rings of Power.
It really does.
So we have got a ginger, token white guy, an East Asian chick, and a black guy.
We have a
And
soulless
these are
elf. Can you
Okay.
believe it?
Shame on you for not recognizing X-Ray Girl on all of you, by the way.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Congratulations for making another show, X-Ray Girl.
I just the moment I saw them, I thought, right, well done. You've ticked every box. The only thing we're missing is a wheelchair-bound elf.
There's
But
two
why
of
are the
them.
costumes so bad? The budget's huge.
Yeah,
They only had $1 billion, guys. Come on.
yeah.
Yeah, geez. Come on.
I mean, I thought elves were supposed to be like tall and slender and graceful. Like that guy on the far left there, like, oof. He's been having a few elf puddings.
A little too much lambus bread.
Yeah.
It looks like it looks like an away team. It looks like red shirts, elven red shirts.
It does. The guy on the right looks like a Vulcan.
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't see him for very long. He gets sucked into the evil cave.
He does.
Yeah.
They actually put him in chains.
That's true. Yeah.
Galadriel doesn't save him, and then she gets captured, and she's lucky that Elrond is there to save her. I just thought that was funny. It's
Don't
just
you like when he says, "Don't let them get me. Don't let me go."
Yeah, don't let me go. That was the one segment where Galadriel doesn't girl boss her way out of it. Like she actually has to get helped by Elrond, which was frankly shocking to me.
It was.
That's
Even
allowed.
Apparently so. Like it's you
I
get
don't
one
know.
per season, I think.
Remember, she was the one that said we absolutely should not go there, and the show made a huge deal about how right she was when she was saying that, when she had nothing to go on other than
Yeah.
the ring. The ring's telling me, I'm pretty sure. And it's just like the ring. Fuck it.
That's not how rings work.
That's how
This
they
is
do in
like this is
show.
yeah, it's almost like that. It's the Han Solo thing of like that's not how the Force works. Like now, yeah, it can heal arrow wounds. That shit made me laugh, by the way.
Yeah, that was.
When a bunch of orcs randomly fire arrows into the woods,
Oh.
and it's like, oh, what was that? And then one of the guy just takes one to the gut.
That was so funny because the show needs to show us all the shit to make us understand, right? It's like they weren't shooting at the elves. They haven't found the elves. They're just shooting some.
It was a
they're
horse
trying
they
to
were
hunt-
shooting at.
Yeah, they're trying to. They're trying to shoot a horse, yeah, and they accidentally shot one of the elves. So once they make that perfectly clear, then they edit it such that the elf can now start being in pain. He was like, oh, and then he has to stop and shut up while we understand what just happened because the whole audience is like, what the
There
fuck?
was so much of other characters, even on screen, stopping and waiting for things to happen before they react,
Yeah.
including when we get later listen, Guyladriel with the ring, pretty fucking powerful. Okay, could wipe out those orcs by herself. Guyladriel in this show, which they've reduced and absolutely vandalized this character, is an insufferable girl boss midget who shouldn't be able to beat anything, isn't running around shooting freaking arrows. It's such it's a vandalization of her character. Like I said in my video, right up there with Luke Skywalker and Han Solo and Indiana Jones. Her needing help is ridiculous, except in the show. Then it makes sense because she's an idiot. She's an absolute idiot. She's responsible for everything. Her arguments are stupid. If they're like, it's a show filled with platitudes. And at the end, when she's fighting all the orcs, there's orcs in the background, like waiting,
just standing there.
Oh yeah, that was one of the
waiting for her to defeat a bunch so they can just go in and get defeated.
Legit one of the worst action scenes I think I've ever seen in a show like this. It was so slow, and they were so obviously just waiting for her to get on the horse and get moving, and everyone was standing back politely. And then she's shooting arrows at lanterns that explode like freaking napalm.
Was that?
That was amazing.
I honestly think they were like, we can't have her just going with a sword, and we can't have her shooting arrows. They have to do something crazy. She has to do acrobatics onto a horse and shoot an arrow and then fire up the lantern. And you're just like, what were you thinking? It's all insane. And I don't even believe this scene happening in the first place when she was like, you guys go, I'm gonna stay. And it's like, you could just come with us. It makes no difference at all. And it's like, you know what? We could just kill all the orcs. I feel like the elves could do it.
Yeah.
And what are you doing? Are you teasing the idea that she might die? Galadriel, who's going to be alive 2,000 years from now? Clearly she's going to be fine. What's the point in doing this?
As if anyone would believe she would die, even if this is a completely original story and all we had was this. Nobody would believe she's dying.
Yeah.
It wasn't even it wasn't even like Tekken, where the people in the background are sort of swaying or shuffling in anticipation of joining the fight or watching it. They're just literally just standing there in a circle, waiting for their opportunity.
Yeah.
I liked earlier as well in the episode where they come across the bridge that's been destroyed and their way is blocked then, and Elrond looks at it and goes, it was hit by lightning.
Lightning.
And I thought, the fuck kind of lightning is that? It could blow up an entire bridge. Really?
My only sad moment in the show is that there was no tortured metaphor to make me laugh out loud like there has been in the previous ones.
Not this time, no, not so
much. Can I read you my favorites? There's Sauron used me, and under his hand I was played like a harp, but to a melody not of my choosing.
Yes.
And then Disa, who says, a rumor is like a songbird. It may sound filling from afar, but up close it's an empty feast. And then the stranger who says, panic is the fool's meal, would be best to sup on patience. That might be my favorite. So I didn't get one this episode, and I was really bummed out because then I had to watch the episode. There was nothing else to enjoy.
So Tolkien.
She could eat a lot of songbirds.
Yeah, Adisa's the dwarves might be struggling for food, but she certainly isn't.
No.
By the looks of things.
This episode was at the level of a children's show. That's basically what it was.
Yes.
Yeah, the whole episode was basically people walk around looking for things. That's what basically all the different story arcs are. Everyone's walking around looking for stuff. Like the two hobbit things are looking for civilization, water. Yeah, other hobbits. Not Gandalf is looking for them. Don Lemonlass and his goofy friend are looking for the kid that's been kidnapped. Galadriel and Elrond are looking for a way to get to Eregion. They're all just traveling through forest and stuff. There's just a lot of walking.
They still packed it with dumb shit, like the girl who Isildur's fucking obsessed with when he's been given basically no reason to. They've not built that at all. Well, I thought they were so inept. I sent you a message about this. When you make the show, right, you have this moment where both of them are sucked into that swamp, which, by the way, was so fucking retarded. I didn't understand what the fuck they wanted me to understand about the situation, I guess.
They wanted you to... Well, go on.
It just turns out they were eaten by a giant slug, snail, snake thing. Anyway, we're watching her decide, is she going to help them or is she not? And I was sitting there thinking, how could she possibly help? The elf couldn't pull out the man. How is the girl going to pull out the elf and the man? So she's like, here's a fucking branch. Go, guys. I thought it was really funny because I was like, I get it. We're doing the thing where she's going to do a good move and prove that she's actually a good guy. The thing is, they were in its stomach when she did that. So they don't know anything about what she did other than she was scared. Yeah,
because they kind of hack, or the elf slices his way out, and they both just kind of explode out of this thing's stomach, and then it waits until they're out, and then kind of slithers back into the mud. And you say, they had no idea that she'd gotten them out, and that they were now up above the mud level. he just did that randomly and just hey, it worked out.
They
was
do the
lucky.
thing of they treat it like, oh, we've been through something together, you know, and that's proof of something. And then
Mhm.
she has to say, like, no, I would never be accepted by your people. Like, she pulls the sword. But I was like, no, you can't get to this payoff because neither of you saw her do that. As far as you know, she's still evil. She still tricked you. That's all you've got to go on.
What's funny as well is like afterwards when they're having dinner because they're eating this thing as well for some reason. I wouldn't want to eat this fucking thing. It could be
Was that
poisonous.
supposed
or
to be the
whatever.
heart?
You have no idea.
I don't know. It's just
What
like a
was
big
that?
chunk of its flesh, and he's just like the world is gnawed by nameless things in the deep, which steals a fucking line from the books, which I despise.
One of
Because it's
many.
it's not the deep places of the world. It's the fucking surface. It's just full of mud.
Yeah.
But
They
anyway,
wanted you to
Tell
think
us
of the
one.
Watcher in the water.
Yeah.
outside of Mauler.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
But it's later on, right, when they're having dinner and like she's still manacled, and he comes over and he puts a key down on the log next to her. And it's pretty like I think any of us can guarantee, like, or we can understand, right? He's letting her go. She's free to let herself out. And then his Zildor fucking retard boy walks across and he's like, "Is that a key for the manacles?" No, dude, it's like a key to the local McDonald's. What do you think it's for?
Oh, he sucks so bad. It's so funny as well because he's like, you know what? I believe in you. Then she pulls his sword on him. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake.
The other thing that was jarring about her is that everyone seems to sound like they're from Cornwall, except for her. She sounds like she's just come out of the Rover's Return in Coronation Street, Manchester. So it was really strange that.
None of the characters will understand their accents in this, or none of the actors will. They're just like, do a generic regional accent from Britain. Which one? Don't know. Whichever one you can manage, basically. I loved as well because so much of this episode is wasted on Nori and what's the other one called? Like
Poppy. I only know that because
Poppy.
you said it
Poppy.
last stream. You said it so many times it's stuck in my head.
Oh, right. Well, and then I forgot it. I must have passed the knowledge on to you. So you're giving it back. You'll forget now. But yeah, Nori and Poppy, right? And then they come across another tribe of hobbits, the Stewards now. And I thought, again, right, this is another opportunity because the Stewards are in like the equivalent of the Middle East. You can have all your diverse actors you want. You've got like, they can all be Middle Eastern actors. That makes sense in universe. Nope, the same fucking stupid generic mix of people. There's white actors, there's East Asians, there's Middle Eastern actors, there's black people. Again, just put into this big old cultural melting pot so that every single place you go looks exactly like everywhere else. Of course it does.
Yeah.
It's middle of the desert. The not Gandalf is even saying they're going to die of heat. Like, yeah, this is where they should have dark skin. 100% makes sense.
Yes.
Did you guys like when they talked about the Shire?
Yes.
Yeah. They almost said it. They almost said, literally, and I was just about ready to leave at that point if they did.
They knew. They were like, oh, there's this wonderful place where people like us would live in little holes as a family. It'd be amazing. It's like, shut up.
We're gonna call it the shore. Yeah, let's call it the shore.
Is that the dream?
And Sadak Burrows was a prophecy. Yeah, and he had a dream. Yeah, it was about the dream.
Yeah,
of the
a guy
Shire.
had a dream a couple hundred years ago. We haven't forgotten that shit. It was a dream.
But they even had. Did you see the little
guy we didn't know?
The little flickers of special needs children they had in the thing as well. There were a couple of them. They did the same thing they did in Peter Pan. So they even put that in the super, wonderful egalitarian, ethnically diverse society in the middle of the desert.
It's just, like I say, this is your opportunity, right? When you're in the Middle East, like you can have all the diverse actors you want. It makes sense in universe. Do what Game of Thrones did. That allows you to get a nice balance of your overall cast. But everywhere has to be just a big old cultural melting pot. Of course,
they don't want. They're afraid of typecasting anything.
The stores.
Right?
Frodo is a store. So those are the ancestors of Frodo.
Woohoo!
Great. Awesome.
Yes.
I feel better now.
Did you see
I could stand Bombadil. I could stand him. I thought that was quite a nice little sequence.
I didn't understand why he's there though, right? Because he's supposed to be in the forests of like the north,
the old forest.
Like,
he came to see he wanted to see if it was a desert.
Yeah, that's their bullshit explanation. It's like, he's just visiting or whatever. Like, fuck off. And
summer home.
Now he's like this guy who's fully aware of events throughout the world. He's like connected to everything. He knows what Gandalf's destiny is, and he's going to teach him magic and stuff. Like, I'm trying to just like describe this quickly, but Tom Bombadil wouldn't care about any of that stuff. He is like, he's a deity of like nature. Like that's
he's Yoda.
Well, in this he is, yeah. But like in the books and like the proper version of him, he doesn't understand any of this stuff. He doesn't care about any of this stuff. He understands like nature, he understands trees and rivers and streams and stuff, and like whatever is within the bounds of his realm. That's it. He doesn't care about anything else. Doesn't know
how
about
much
anything else.
of that scene kind of was just a complete rip of Empire. Like,
yeah,
and I'm worried now that we're going to be getting Gandalf riding on the back of Tom Bombadil in the next episode.
Probably.
Point being, though, yeah, like him being like, I was sent here. He's desperately looking for the two friends he thinks he may have killed, and he's like, could it be under the stars? Then the guy is like, so you got to take on two Sauron and a wizard. You ready to trade? It's like, do you remember when you had the two friends that you cared about? Like,
yeah,
they may be dead. They should be dead, by the way. Last we saw them, they got skyrocketed up. And then they landed on the floor. It's like, so their bones ain't in the same place as their skin.
You generally don't survive a fall from hundreds of feet after getting blasted out of a tornado.
You had to think about that. You're like, what was the last time we saw him? Oh, being blasted away in a freaking dust devil.
You saw that.
About 100 feet in the air.
And he's like lost all interest, which to be fair, they are pretty annoying.
No, but Bomb Bombadil, who they have in this, is just a dude. It's just a guy. He doesn't even he's completely different in the book. He's aloof. He is the eldest that they had to tell us. Remember when they had to tell us like 3 times or 2 times that he's the eldest, the name of the episode, by the way. And he's maybe some these like there's no for sure origin, but maybe he's like an offshoot of the Song of Creation. Like he's that, and he's just an aloof guy. This is why they specifically say, hey, why don't we give in the Council of Elrond, we should give the ring to Tom. And he's like, I thought about it, but he'd just lose it. You know, that's what Tom Bombadil is.
Yeah, because he'd forget about it.
Yeah,
because it wouldn't even hold
just forget about it
to his memory. Yeah, and like that's his nature. Like he, as I say, he cares about like the simple things, like the trees and plants and growing things and stuff. And he doesn't know much about the outside world.
How powerful is he supposed to be?
Well, it's more that like other things that don't have power over him. Like the ring doesn't have any power over him, so like you can put it on around him, and you're still visible to him. And it doesn't tempt him in any way. So.
Isn't he just a big mystery? Like we don't really know what he is.
You're not meant to specifically know.
There. He's just kind of a part and above everything. Like not really connected.
It's pretty powerful in his realm, kind of up there with an Ent.
Yeah, he's like a forest spirit. And they sort of theorize, like, okay, say like you just leave it in his realm, right? The ring. Like, can he protect it at least? And they say, well, no, he's not that powerful. Like, if Sauron takes over the whole world just by military force, like, he'd be able to eventually kill Tom Bombadil as well. Like, he's not invincible. So he's not a god or anything. But...
What's the dealio with the Dark Wizard? What's going on? What is that?
I've got the horrible feeling that it's Saruman or something.
That would be so stupid.
So I was gonna ask, is this gonna be
my feeling,
he fights Gandalf like cleanses him or something, and then he's like, I'm not gonna go by Dark Wizard anymore. I'll go by my old name, Saruman. You'd be like, oh,
I theorized if it's Saruman, then like they're gonna wipe his memory or some stupid shit like that.
Bring him in.
Please no.
Nothing is off limits with this fucking show.
That's the thing. If anyone said like, no, it wouldn't be Saruman, it's like you don't know.
You don't know. You honestly don't know.
It kind of has to be because they're dancing around not giving his name. Same thing with the not Gandalf. If the name doesn't mean anything, why are they hiding it? Like, why aren't they just saying what the name is? Like, it makes no sense unless they are these.
Is there any potential, right? And I know this has probably been talked about before. That the stranger isn't Gandalf, it's Saruman.
I was thinking that, but I think that's
it's like
too
a
intelligent for the show.
I think they want him to be Gandalf because
will they give us a title card when they reveal it, like Mordor?
That one Black Hobbit lady, she even said, "Oh, he's Grand Elf." Like she even trying as hard as they can to tell you it's Gandalf.
You got to think more cynically. Like they want him to be Gandalf because they know people like Gandalf. They're relying on. They've given him lines from Gandalf, the follow your nose shit from season 1. There's been loads, but they definitely want us to like him. So Saruman's going to be more controversial.
I missed actually. Disbrew pointed out that we missed that. He's got to find the Gand, which is the magic staff, which is what his name.
Oh,
which his name's derived from. Yeah. I don't know how I missed that, but yeah, it's those fucking accents. I can't understand.
Then they're going to be like, oh, it'll break in half, and you'll be like, oh, that's only half a grand or half a gand. Gandalf.
They probably worked for fucking hours and on end trying to justify how they get to Gandalf instead of that just being his name. Like,
yeah. Everything has to have an origin story, though, tonight, doesn't it? Like, there can't be any mystery. Yeah. Everything has to be explained. I love as well, like how he comes to Bombadil's house, and he's like, "I'm looking for stars. These stars above your hill," and I just keep thinking, like, why do you have to go to a specific hill to see these stars? Like, you understand you can see stars from like all different kinds of places, and they'll look the same.
And how did he find them during the day? He followed a fucking goat. He didn't like.
If I see the constellation of Orion or something, right? Like, it's going to look the same from my house as it does from yours, Gary, and we're in different parts of the world. Like, so I don't see how you can navigate using that. It's such
not
a weird thing to look for.
It's like the writers of these series have no fundamental understanding of the world or anything the geeks are interested in, science or just, common sense or outdoors things. That's where this comes from. It's a profound lack of real life experience.
They found a way to simulate what it's like to have no idea what's going on while watching the story, even if you're paying attention. When Tom Bombadil says, "You're going to be the one to take down Sauron and the Dark Wizard, and I'm gonna help you," I was literally like, "What the fuck is going on? Like, when did this happen? 10 minutes ago, he was just searching for his two buddies, and now he's like getting trained to fight Sauron. What?
Yeah.
Okie dokie, fine."
And who is Kieran Hines? Like the Irish actor who looks like he's Indian with grey and white, like long hair in his beard. Like, what's his situation?
So the Dark Wizard.
Yeah.
Nobody knows. Not supposed
Nobody
to be
knows.
there.
We'll find out. He's going to fight him.
There's no
Season
Dark
2 finale.
Wizard.
They'll put their sticks together and fly.
Yeah. They'll repurpose the fight in Fellowship. We know they blatantly repurpose the scene in this when Dangalf gets sucked into the tree, just like Merry and Pippin, and then Treebeard has to come and say, "Oh, come on, Tree." Well, it's Bombadil who does it, and it's blatant. It's like
it is so steely in that they steal the nature of the scene, being the oh god, the horror. I'm getting sucked in. This is terrifying. Oh, silence, and then we see that everything is like chill almost. It's like exactly the same as that scene.
Yeah, like Warner Brothers should be suing them at this point.
Like, that tree was so cheaply articulated. It just looked like plastic things that turn on. It didn't look natural at all. It was horrific.
Echo, they only had $1 billion.
I think they blew all their budget on the Ents. And this is where, right, I want to say one positive thing about this episode, right? And this is the only time I'm going to do it. I think the Ents looked fucking great in this episode. Good, I think they did a really good job with them. They looked... God, I love the Peter Jackson trilogy, but I still maintain the Ents look a little... They're just balanced right on the edge of looking goofy. Right. I think with this, they actually looked more how I imagined them to look. And so I think they did a good job there. But that's the only good thing I can say.
I got a slight kind of Transformers with twigs kind of vibe out of them myself.
They put their own spin on it, different from the movies.
I mean, they're broadly the same, but I think they're just animated better. Like they've got 20 years of
better. CGI. Yeah. About, 20 times the budget.
Because there's one who's like, it's a female Ent, I guess, which, I don't know, eventually they all vanish. Apparently that's why the Ents are dying out, but there's still one here. And she's all covered in blossoms and stuff, so when she moves around, they kind of like rain down, like snow or whatever. And it's quite a cool effect. I liked that. I thought that was quite well done. But that's about the limit of my praise for this episode.
Well, at the end of the first film, which is like, 2.5 hours, 3 hours, the Peter Jackson one, everything was established. There's tons of heart and gravitas, even some tenderness, a sense of a shared burden. And there's some emotional depth and resonances already. We've been through a whole first season, which is 10 hours plus another 3 hours here. So coming up on 13 hours. And it's still emotionally inert. It's still just like basic bitch personalities doing stuff with no emotional connection on any level with anyone after 13 hours in a like a fantasy drama show. To be that inert is just really sad to watch.
I'm no film critic, but after the first season, I didn't care about anybody. Like,
no,
couldn't even remember half of them.
Well, not even they've hit it out of the park so far.
Was that?
Oh, I remember Nori, and I hear she eats bugs now, right?
They all eat the bugs. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
fucking disgusting.
I like Estrad, which their little neck branding. So that has to be recent. So if you've ever had a 3rd degree burn, that shit is still hurting. And so she puts another one right on top of it and is immediately found out. Immediately. She put a 3rd degree burn on another 3rd degree burn. A few hours later, we fucking see that.
That strategy was retarded. Amazing. Why didn't she just say, hey, I was taken and I did what I could to survive?
Because I slept near a fire is way better.
The fucking is so funny. I fell onto the fire and it burned my nips.
It's like it didn't touch my hair, but it burned my skin underneath somehow.
Okay, it was like, this is what people who are loyal to a da do with it. And I was just sitting there like, why couldn't she just say the story of they branded me and I escaped? That was the easiest lie in the world.
Why couldn't they have had Isildur figure this out as well? Why did it have to be the elf? Like, can they not have Isildur do anything smart in this entire episode or this entire show?
They're not letting him do anything interesting or like intelligent or anything. Aaron doing that actually was kind of like a relief to me in the sense of like, there's just no way she should be able to hide this shit. So when he pointed it out, I was like, oh, thank fuck, something like that.
It should be oozing.
Oh, she should be in fucking huge pain constantly too.
Oh yeah, for like a couple months.
But she acts completely normal and like she's just chill. Like, damn, she have a high pain threshold.
Hilarious. Like when Isildur leaves her at night, and then she's like, la la la. Then it reveals the scar. Then she goes, I was just, what the fuck?
So far, we know these people are really dumb, but they're hardy. Like they can survive jumps off 1,000-foot waterfalls, pyroclastic flows, 3rd degree burns.
yeah. Don't forget, Gary. She got fucking smacked by an ent into a boulder.
Yeah, she should have been dead. I cheered. I was like, yes, when that happened.
She's gone.
You could do a supercut of the show just with the Benny Hill music, just showing those moments of people getting hurled around and destroyed by volcanoes and thrown by trees.
That whole scene honestly played out like a comedy skit. Like it's like when someone's on the verge of saying some really dramatic speech and then you just get whacked aside by some monster. Like that's what it felt like.
It's like King Kong, Skull Island.
Nobody.
Like when the guy's gonna blow himself up. Yeah.
Everyone seems dumber to me. No one seems smart. All these characters, even Isildur, which gets like 30 seconds of movie time in the series, and he has more gravitas there than it doesn't make sense. Everything is so watered down somehow, and I just don't understand it.
How can I put this? They've gone out of their way to pussify certain characters as much as they possibly can, and Isildur is one of them. Elrond is another. Like the show goes out of its way to make him look like an idiot. Basically, all the dudes.
Jesus. Galadriel is the biggest moron in this whole show.
Yeah, Galadriel for sure. Elrond's been odd this season because he opens with being the only elf with half a brain cell, and then he does something that could be tantamount to treason. Like from Gilgalad's perspective, he's destroying the elven kingdom essentially by jumping off that waterfall. And then as soon as they find the rings, they're like, "Oh, we're chill, bro. In fact, you can be the leader of the party that goes to fight Sauron." It's like
now I'm more mad at Galadriel, which I should have been the whole time.
I didn't get that at all. I didn't get why Gilgalad allowed her to have a ring when they all agreed that he's been.
It's because she found it. It just fell on the floor and she picked it up, and it's like, well, I guess you own it now, so cool.
Hey, they pick rings like they pick kings.
Well, I'll give them this. The character motivations last a little bit longer than the Acolyte. Acolyte changed every 30 seconds?
Yeah.
Yes.
This one is at least 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But
that's about all you get.
Guyladriel goes into full insufferable mode in this episode. There was they were trying to acknowledge her humility, and I'll put that in air quotes in the first 3 episodes, although she still totally believes she's right, and that's how they're framing it. This one is just right back to warrior Galadriel. Like she gets demoted, but she's not taking Elrond's orders. The first thing he does is ask her advice about picking her crew, and she's the one who picked that away team right there, by the way, specifically. Yeah. And then we'll get to it. Then there's a part where she gives up the ring. We'll get to
that. Another thing is the emotional economy of this, or extremes and convulsions, where people go from "I hate you" and "bitter," "I'll never forgive you," and then towards the end of an episode or 10 minutes later they'll be reconciled. It could be the father and son dwarves. It could be Isildur and this woman. It could be anything, and so you can't get invested in anything because you know that even if there's convulsions of anger and bitter rivalry and I'm finished with you, you know that it's just going to 180, within the space of an episode. So it's tedious and shallow.
It's a toddler mentality, really, isn't it? Like how they go from like, you're the worst person in the world, I hate you, to you're awesome, I love you. Like that's how easily they flip. It's a show written by children, probably for children.
Yeah, even going back to the waterfall thing, it was no, don't jump. He's gonna die. He jumps. Yeah, he's fine.
He's fine.
Yeah,
fucking just change. He's not even. He hasn't even landed yet. Nah, he's good. He'll be fine.
We don't even see him like struggling through the water or like struggling to survive, almost drowning or whatever. It's like he's just in the next scene. And he's cool. He's made it to the shipwrights.
Yeah, and the
place.
first fucking thing Galadriel thinks to check is where he is. She's like, yeah, you know what? I think he's gonna be here. Oh,
no, that whole line, I'm gonna paraphrase it, Buzz. I'm guessing he'll be with somebody older and wiser who has shipwright in their names. Named Kierden.
That's just my guess.
That's just my guess, though.
That's the first time we see Gilgalad go anywhere, too. He was actually went there with his horse. I was like, whoa, look at him go.
I'm so unused to seeing him just otherwise rooted to that one spot on that one platform for 90% of the time. It's crazy.
It's like Cersei at the end of Game of Thrones. She's just in front of that window
balcony.
park drinking fucking
window
wine.
with wine. That was it.
That was truly one of the great moments of cinema as well, where like you see all this the rocks and stuff falling from the ceiling, and it knocks over her glass of wine, which is in the foreground. It's like, oh no, truly all is lost.
All is lost.
And when drama is over, drama is really over in the show. Like they're just in the spooky forest with the barrel whites things, and it's scary and drama. And then they kill them, and everyone's just standing around, just super chill, talking about exposition. What do we do next?
And again, they're not scary. Like it's just like people fighting spooky, floaty things, right? But all they do is kind of drift towards you and like kind of reach out for you, and there's no indication that like they couldn't just run away from them or whatever.
Well, and there's a bunch of standing around in this scene. Like they fight them and then they talk for a second. And it's like, they just waited to attack? And
then they just walk over to the grave and they're like, all right, well, help me open this.
It's like when shouldn't the whites know? Like, oh shit, he's gonna get one of our weapons out. That's the only thing we're weak against. We should stop him.
Oh no. Yeah.
I thought they were wrong. I was mistaken. I thought they were just gonna call them whites and they were gonna be some different form from some different era. No, these are the barrel whites from Lord of the Rings, from the books, which shouldn't be there.
The changes look like something out of a junkyard.
They just copied the Cenobites' powers, and that was that. Obviously, it's a PG version, but what I didn't understand is like there's so many barrel whites. If they all just attacked one elf each with chains, it was over.
Because you can't stop them as well.
The whole point of this episode was let's do what Peter Jackson didn't. Let's do the barrel whites and Tom Bombadil, and we'll just try to fit
in a circle too. Like, wasn't a complete circle around them, so they just close in. That's
well,
really it.
The thing is that this isn't how the barrel whites work either. Like in the books, they're actually kind of interesting. Like they slowly wear down Frodo and the others. Like they send them off in different directions. They create illusions, thinking that they've walked like further than they have, so that they get lost and stuff, and they end up going around in circles. And they eventually just kind of entrance them so that they pass out, and then that's when they drag them into the barrows and try to kill them, which is kind of cool. Like they could mess with the elves' heads, they could like misdirect them and stuff. Here it's just like, no, we're big spooky floaty things. Yeah, like that's it.
Let's battle.
It's just so simplistic, and it loses what makes them kind of interesting.
This whole series is how much can we repurpose from Peter Jackson's Hobbit and Lord of the Rings? Like maybe a line from the book will sneak in once in a while, once or twice, but it's mostly Peter Jackson stuff, which shows the lack of effort in this. But again, they only had $1 billion.
Yeah, give them.
Well, the only emotional connection I've had so far is with the Orc family, with that guy who just isn't keen on going to war, and he's got priorities now as a father, so he's got divided loyalties. So I've gotten really invested in that story more than the human characters.
I shed a tear over that video that you made. I thought it was beautiful, like giving him a whole backstory and everything.
I was just thinking, by the way, the elf that would go home after what happened at the end of the episode and be like to his wife or whatever the fuck, be like, I got shot by an arrow that was meant for just some random horse. I got so unlucky. And she's like, oh, you're okay. It's like, yeah, it turns out Galadriel has a ring that can just heal wounds. I would just be like, your story doesn't sound believable at all. You just made all of that up. That was all insane. I was like, that so casually happened. They just revolutionized healing forever. But she's like, you take the ring, it's fine.
Are they doing that thing where they keep everything so undefined about the powers that it might as well just be a plot device at any second?
Pretty much.
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, like the movies were fairly vague about what the Elven Rings did as well, and like even to be fair, the books are a little bit like that. It's just like this. It's almost portrayed as this fairly subtle like web that it weaves, particularly for the elves. Like it helps their
yeah, but what I mean is
to survive. But here it's just like, no, we can make it do specific things, like it can heal wounds or it can bring the trees back to life or whatever. Like it's
it was always a mystery, even in the novels. But I guess it's like it's just a convenience item now. Like that's what it is. It's like it's no longer a mystery. It's just like, oh, it's convenient to have this power at this time.
It's like in a video game where you've got like a NPC or something floating beside you that can just like scan the surroundings and tell you like things of interest or give you a location that you need to go to next or whatever. That seems to be what the ring can do now. It'll tell you the direction you need to head. It'll tell you of danger nearby. It can heal things up.
Well, I sure hope an elf doesn't get stabbed near Galadriel and dies, or she just when she's got the ring, or she's just a bitch. Why forget about all the elves that died from wounds in the books.
Why couldn't you use the ring to repair the bridge?
I know.
I wonder.
Well, I mean,
Gary, the funny thing is that we'll start
heal and preserve. That's what the elven rings are, to heal and preserve. But they're probably going to take the word heal and like very literally, obviously.
I sort of took it from fans of the show, like when with all the stuff that happened with Star Wars and the healing with the Force, they were like, Obi-Wan didn't heal Qui-Gon because he was tired.
Yeah. It's like, I could save your life, bro, but I really had to max out on that fight with
Darth Maul. Sorry.
Did you guys hear? I laughed out loud at the end because it had this huge dramatic conclusion that they have to have in every episode and hypertension, and they ended it with the cheesiest, campest ballad at the end of the song, like a pop song cheesy ballad. It was horrific. I was laughing out loud at that. That was
because that came right after. Even because I don't even like the show, but I was like, guys, that tone's all wrong. You wanted us to be like, oh my god, Adar, he has Galadriel now. Oh no, our heroine has been captured by the evilman. And that is the pop song. It's like,
we got a music pop song. It's like the ending of a horror film where they do it ironically and deliberately and put on like a cheesy ballad to capture that.
They're trying to do the Acolyte. They're just trying to repeat the Acolyte completely.
Oh, God help us.
I liked how he came in as well. Like she had her arrow like ready to go, and then he just like comes in and grabs it with his hand and like puts the flame out. Shoot? Yeah, it's like you can still kill him with that, He ain't gonna be able to stop it.
So I know the basics of the show, but if you're a normie, I was just thinking, like, how are you figuring out what the hell Sauron is? Because you see him at the beginning. It's not the same actor, but he's Sauron, and then he dies, and then he turns into a sludgy flubber black goo. And then he sort of regenerates, and it's the Sauron we're used to. But he's not Halbrand, and he's not that previous Sauron. He's not Halbrand. Then we go backstory to back where we were, and then he materializes as Coke Bloat Jesus at the end of that second episode. So if you're a normie, how the hell are you following on what's going on with this guy?
The one thing they didn't over exposition and explain.
Yeah,
to sort of carry the audience through the new audience.
Whatever is left of it, but I have no explanation how you follow that, how you circle back to the lore that you should have done in the first place just because you wanted to ship the embodiment of evil and the embodiment of good.
I think they know that 90% of the audience for this one are going to be people who know Lord of the Rings. Like that's what they're banking on. That's the people they're trying to pull in. That's why there's so many member berries for everything, especially for the Peter Jackson movies. It's just that's a dangerous game to play because those people actually know how things should be and they know what's meant to happen with these characters. And then when you screw it up, as they do time after time, they're going to call you out on it. So, it's a bad fandom to fuck with.
They're just erasing canon everywhere. I mean, even in 40K, right? It's like the writers are coming out and saying canon doesn't matter. Consistency doesn't matter.
Did you see that video with the female space marine? Fucking hell. She makes Scottish women look
I
attractive.
saw the jaw. Is that from Space Marines too?
I think it is, yeah. Yeah, it's a cutscene from it. She's a female Astartes.
They actually went there.
Jaw like Brock Lesnar. It's terrifying.
I saw the picture. Yeah, I thought that was because they already did the Femme Stoties. They actually went full on female Space Marine now.
Mm-hmm. That's a Custodes, apparently.
No, their Custodes are a little different.
Well, I mean, that one. When you see her, she's in power armor. As far as I know, that was meant to be a female Custodes.
Okay.
Whether they got the armor wrong or something, I'm not sure.
But not like rank and file chapter Space Marines.
No, they're slightly different. I mean, they're built on the same idea as Space Marines, but they're just bigger and stronger. They're like the elite of the elite.
Well, I said this last year, and I think I stand by it. I think Galadriel, for me, is the worst character of all time, what they've done with her in the show. She's irredeemable, prickly, horrible, doesn't grow or change in any way, is insufferably smug, is a know-it-all who's always proven correct, is impossibly powerful, looks ridiculous in fight sequences, ends up proving that she's correct by giving you a smug little side-eye look. She's horrible in every way. I think she's, for me, the worst ever character.
It sucks as well because we got just a sliver of criticism for her in episode 1, and it's gone.
Yep.
It was just like,
that's what you're gonna get.
Finally, no. There it goes. Never mind.
Yeah. Well, you know that the show would never go all in on that because they can't. Like, she's the girl boss and she has to win at everything ultimately. So yeah, there's the tiniest little bit of censure for her, and then she'll be proven right ultimately, and she'll redeem everything. So yeah, sure, okay.
But with her catty passive aggression, I was thinking, just wishing for Elrond to say, "Look, I'm in charge of this operation, so you got to shut your trap, or otherwise you just got to take a hike back because I can't have this."
I can't believe this is like beings that are thousands of years old, and this is how they act towards each other. Like, you should have advanced beyond this kind of shit.
Yeah.
I was looking for like any kind of intelligence in the script because the show was clearly having her say, "We can't go that way. It's evil. We'll get killed." And it's like, based on what? I'm feeling it, bro. It's bad vibes. And I wish Elrond would be like, "Listen, we're going there because it's strategically the best thing to do. If you can come up with anything other than vibes, let me know." And then, because she's so like, not listening to me. It's like, you're not saying anything. You're just talking about fucking feelings. It's insane. Why should I listen to that? It would be a shit
like
command.
They're a bitchy middle-aged couple. That's what they are, those two.
Gosh, sucks.
Yeah. Yeah,
it reminds me of Interstellar, where they're like, "Let's navigate with love," and it's like, "Let's not actually." Like, we're gonna try some other stuff, like data.
Yeah. Just before we go on, I just wanted to do a few super chats before we can do the next thing, just because there's lots of them coming in as we go. So I try and stay up to date with them if I can. Slack Attack says, "Remember, lads, for Ents, forgiveness takes an age, but they'll gladly expedite it for someone that they were prepared to squash." Also, why would anyone want to sit by a fire in the middle of the day in the desert, Tom? That was stuck with me as well. Come sit by the fire. Dude, we're in the fucking Middle East. It's like 900 degrees outside. I don't want a fire to keep me warm. Like, can you give me like a pool to sit in? That'd be nice.
Arendelle, sometimes a little fib is okay, Arendelle. Like if a huge tree outside you've wielded an axe, you can just a little fib, a little white line. The end of the world.
You never cut down any of my family, did you? You go, no.
Because we know we get like, okay, yeah, you were a slave and you were forced to do it and stuff. You didn't want to. Like, yeah, that's more than you can convey to this fucking thing in a life or death situation. Just don't bother. LC Le Pen says, "Between the Mandalorian, Borderlands, that live show fiasco, and now the Minecraft trailer, I've got to say I'm pretty sick of Jack Black and his projects."
Yeah, dude,
that dude needs to stop taking on new projects, man.
He's gonna start becoming a cancer for any project because, man, seeing him show up in that Minecraft trailer after just a full minute of what the fuck was Aquaman do to that shit? Jason Momoa, what the hell was that? What? I had no idea this was happening. I saw it and I was like, whoa.
How the mighty have fallen, honestly.
What the fuck is he doing? It must pay really well.
What was the last good thing he was in?
Good?
School of Rock? I don't know.
Tropic Thunder?
Wait, are we talking about Jason Momoa or Jack Black?
Yeah.
Jack Black.
Okay.
Tropic Thunder, surely.
Tropic Thunder.
Oh, Christ, we're going
That's been
back
fucking
15
8
years now.
2008.
That is a long way to go back. But yeah, I think you're right. Like, he is just, I don't know. It's like a guy coasting on his former reputation or something, and he's just like willing to be in basically anything.
Somebody was saying Brutal Legend was cool. It was a game though.
I had to share this like that. I said this on Twitter as well. If I had to like sum up modern entertainment in a single image, it's this.
Well, but like it's made so much worse when you're like, this is Minecraft. If you have any familiarity with the game, you're like, what the fuck am I looking at?
Dad bod Momoa with Farrah Fawcett hair. Like, what the hell is this?
Why even make a movie about Minecraft anyway? Like,
well, okay, to be fair, there's shit tons of money in that, more than likely. Like,
yeah, but a game that was popular, what, 10, 15 years ago?
Drinker is still fucking, it's the hugest game.
It's still huge.
Yeah, kids love that shit.
This is a huge cash cow for them to take advantage of. This is not the fun. Unfortunately, this movie probably will make money because Minecraft is $1 billion. But the thing is, you could have made a shit ton more money if you made a movie that wasn't whatever the hell this is.
It's just, yeah, it just looks awful.
But like, I saw people say Jason Momoa, this looks like the main girl in Star Wars Outlaws, and I couldn't.
It's always the chin with those characters. What was the next one here? John Gates says, "Reject Concord and live service. Embrace Astrobots." That was that actually was quite a fitting way to segue, I suppose. Concord, the online first-person shooter released by Sony that cost, what, $100 million to make and 8 years of development. God knows how many hundreds, potentially thousands of people were involved in it. It's been taken offline after less than 2 weeks after launch, and that's it. It's a dead game now.
697 all-time peak players.
Wow. What happened?
They couldn't beat Gollum's all-time peak.
I think that was just down to you, MauLer.
They thought they were going to get a new Destiny. You know, Sony put a bunch of money behind it. It was ex-Bungie devs, and it was a really big bet for them. And unfortunately, no one expected this. They're completely surprised. That's what humors me the most. Is say the journalists of the world, the game journalists of the world, are in utter shock that this project has failed.
I mean, just for context, that's the kind of character you get in this game. Wow. It just looks exactly like that Minecraft trailer for some reason.
It does. Just change the color of the jacket.
Why? What is this weird fetish for like fat black women that just seems to be everywhere at the moment? Why do they have to be portrayed as fat?
That's quite.
Why are they doing that to them?
You know, like
there's a campaign against
fetish.
Anything beautiful, really.
Yeah.
It's just. I mean, you can do. Look, Concord is supposed. Is a very woke game. You got pronouns for characters. You have characters that look like this. But so is Overwatch. But Overwatch doesn't make their characters generic and ugly because they don't want to offend anybody. They still go to great lengths to have, good-looking characters. This, I don't know what this is.
It's
that Dove positivity campaign about women in video gaming. They have the fat woman in the sort of cartoon who then goes backstage and takes off her shoes and everything. So I guess she won because now she's just one of the pack.
But that's
now.
actually in Microsoft's their DEI internal memo, their guidelines for game studios to follow. They actually say don't make women attractive. Don't you have to do this.
Yeah,
maybe this is, the top right there has a notification about health or whatever. Maybe this is just following the trope that fat people get extra health. I don't mind that. Double health bar, baby.
She got higher hit points because
gonna need it because you got the bigger hit boxes.
they have to balance it, drink, because it's easy to hit them. So you can have shield.
They can absorb more punishment. It's like you put Boogie into the game and he's basically unstoppable. He's the bullets to take him down,
bouncing the bullets back.
10 times health. Yes.
His special move is twisting his tipples.
Oh my god.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like this and that other game, Dustborn, kind of failing spectacularly, almost like side by side. I don't know, man. Like there just seems to be a real like change, a real like turning of the tide, I suppose, within the gaming industry right now.
You know what Concord is? It's the Acolyte of the gaming world. It had a lot of money behind it. Not, it had these expectations that it would just do so well, and the utter shock and surprise when it didn't just not do well, but it closed in 2 weeks, is really causing a lot of cognitive dissonance with everybody. And I think it's a real wake-up call, and it's changing the industry. This will definitely change the industry in the way people think about it. And that's what's important, is that these things have to fail. Unfortunately, we've gotten to the point where these things have to fail before anything changes. And that it's such needless destruction of jobs and for these poor creative decisions. But here we are. And if we want to rebuild something better, this is the necessary culling of the herd.
Yeah. No, I mean,
those
ultimately,
numbers even add up with the 700 peak, 25,000 sold. That's like 3%.
Yeah,
but it seems like it should be a lot higher if they sold 25,000 copies.
Usually, it should be. Yeah.
I mean, it's concurrent, isn't it? So, like, I guess they'll come on at different times and stuff, or maybe they try it for
3%.
Well, they try it for like an hour and then they're like, "No, this sucks, man." Just like never play it again.
Well, the play time's a lot shorter, so this probably means that the play times are really short.
You
For the percentage of concurrency to be that low, it means that people were hopping on and hopping off.
There was a selection of people as well who bought it to resell, I guess, copies. Like I saw the eBay prices, where the people are just trying to get them out now as fast as possible. Because
Walmart is the manager. At one local Walmart that someone was tweeting about was saying, "I've never seen anything like this. People are coming in asking for a copy of Concord before we have to take it off the shelves. People want this. It's a symbol of."
Lost media.
It's a trophy.
Yeah, it'd be like you remember
it's a scalp.
That's what it is. Remember all those ET cartridges that like that game was a colossal flop, and they buried them in some landfill in New Mexico, and then like 30 years later they unearthed them as some archaeology dig or whatever. Like that's kind of what it's like.
Yeah,
people it is lost media.
That's why they killed it, because to keep it open, the servers aren't that expensive to maintain for a game like this. They kept it. But to keep it open, they can't write it off, right? They have to show that it has no value whatsoever. Haven't they done that with some movies? Like they don't even release them and they burn the film.
Yeah,
yeah. Yep. That's what's going on here. It's so bad that they're trying to rescue this as some sort of write-off. That's the only explanation I can see for killing it after such a short time.
I mean, I have to ask $100 million to make a game.
Probably more than that. For 8 years, a studio that size, my own personal estimate is about 150 mil, but we don't know the actual numbers. But the other interesting thing is not only did they close the game, they refunded everybody. Now, this is a big deal because people are saying, "Oh, they refunded the 25,000 people who bought it." No, they refunded every major retail chain that bought millions of copies. They had to give that money back to the Targets, to the Walmarts. This is a big deal.
It's got to be a tax write-down then. That's got to be it. Like that's the only way they could get away with this, is that if they refund the people that have bought it, including the retailers, then they could pretend like it never existed, and then they get the tax write-down.
Bizarre. What is the with that fat character? What are the stamina levels like? Are you watching them running around and running up hills and stuff like that?
Jiggling around.
Has absolutely no effect on their athleticism or health.
It's like that, that meme that has been going around. In fact, it's not a meme. People are serious about this. Where they're like, why would you have a problem with this? And it's like a picture of like a barbarian in a fantasy game in a wheelchair with like an axe in each hand, like going into battle, like rolling into battle.
Yeah. Isn't that a god?
There's loads of different variations of it, but it's like, isn't the point of fantasy games like that you don't have to be yourself? Like, if I was in it, I wouldn't be like a drunken, pasty-faced Scottish guy, right? I would be like, fucking wizard or something like that, or like an elf, like superb archer or ninja or whatever. Why would you think like, a disabled person is going to want to be disabled in the game? And yeah, like not even talking about the mechanics of how any of that would actually work. Like someone could just tip him over and then he's kind of fucked.
It's very true that the power fantasy for males in gaming is a great draw, like being a space marine or whatever, and for women also, but also for women, the character design and fashion stuff. Like my wife won't play a game with an ugly female character; she just won't do it. But the signs were all over the place. I don't know if you heard about some of the stuff on the dev team, like Smash JT was talking about. There was a dev on the team that insisted, a non-binary dev who insisted that everyone refer to her as the professor, and whenever she had a meeting, it was a lecture or a class, and this went all the way apparently to HR and made everyone in the studio very uncomfortable.
You can't force people to call you the professor, surely.
You went Joe Biden on them.
And they got huge feedback during open beta, where they had very few players. Also, they had more players than they did after launch, I think. But they wrote it off. Like I had internal sources saying, yeah, the director of PR is emailing around saying, just ignore it. It's all white noise. It doesn't matter.
Ooh, that's racist right there. White noise.
Quite the phrase.
In terms of masculinity, I think you could just say that current society is just open beta. It's like a catch-call.
Yeah. Well, when we talked about Rings of Power there, like compare Isildur from the movie, from the short amount of screen time that he had. He's a pretty rugged-looking guy. The guy who fucking sliced the ring from Sauron's hand, to the Isildur that we get in Rings of Power. He's
Do you have a still of that? Because I haven't seen it yet. But
so the Isildur that we have in Rings of Power?
Yeah, like what do we got now?
Well, while you fed that, by the way, I just wanted to highlight, because obviously some people here already know this, but he fought Shelob in this show.
Baby Shelob.
Baby Shelob. I hate that shit so much.
I got a perfect one actually. Hold on. Yeah, carry on the conversation for a minute more.
Didn't they explain the I watched the recap of it. So how Shelob loses an eye?
No, it's just some other random spider from lore, right? Like wait, Gary, you're probably better explaining this than I am.
So it's the children of Ungoliant. So that's it's I know with
you're
Shelob,
on the spot. He just made that up. That's
he specifically stated it in an interview. That's why we know.
Well, that's the thing. We could have blissfully thought it was just a bunch of random spiders in a random cave. Unfortunately, they have to do the thing where they're like, "Oh, did you know they actually fought Shelob? Yeah, baby Shelob.
Yeah." So
well, I joked about it like months ago. Like, God, I hope we get baby Shelob, because I was thinking baby Yoda. Like, let's make baby everything.
Is that thing supposed to be evil?
It's not going to be a plushie though.
Because the way they just blew up that guy's head,
that shit was.
You think they're trying to catch him for food, keep him in the web, but they were just murdering people.
Yeah, they explode people's heads. That's what they do.
Yeah.
It honestly reminded me of the Predator, when the dude just blasts his own head off with the
a reshoot in that movie, because the original ending got completely changed. So they just randomly killed him in the most obscure and awful way ever. He just shot his own head off.
But yeah, Grummz, if you wanted the comparison between original Isildur and the one that we have now, so the original one is on the left and our new boy is on the right.
I know it's like Paul Rudd.
I mean, he doesn't exactly scream masculinity, does he? That's what I mean. Like, actors just look soft now.
Cast him into the fire.
Yeah.
So that's what we're dealing
season
with
5,
here.
and we'll get that scene redone for modern audiences.
Oh, can you imagine?
Just
I'm sure
the
Galadriel
expression.
is involved somehow.
Just the expression. I mean, 30 seconds, and you get so much from his facial expressions versus this.
Me and Gary were speculating on that. I said, do you think Galadriel will be the one to try and stop him from dropping the ring, and then to get him to drop the ring? And Gary's like, so we're just accepting that she'll be there.
Yes.
She'll be just out of shot from the original movie, like on the other side of the chasm. Like, no.
No retcon it. She was always there.
Dude, fucking Nori will be there.
Fucking Poppy rolls in from somewhere.
Because you guys know what you guys know what masculinity is like, what masculine presence is like, and how guys can scrutinize each other and kind of quiet ironies of assessing each other, and there's a toughness there, and
like a Steven Seagal movie.
Well,
yeah.
that's what's missing in this show is that idea of masculine presence, masculine ironies, and scrutiny, that kind of thing. And that presence is what's missing in the show for me. It's painful to watch.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't think Durin being a passive aggressive, overly emotional bitch, you don't like that?
No, I couldn't get into it. Somehow.
Everything with him is just being, oh my god, just the most
like
emotional
children.
woman you've ever seen. That is him in every scene.
It's because
Like when
traditionally
in
male
season one-
aspects are treated as defective, and they want to erase them even at the schools.
Yeah, because stoicism doesn't like that's a word that these writers have never heard before. And so like the example that you gave there of Durin, the first season when he meets with Elrond again for the first time and he's really grumpy with him. And like, what's wrong with you? And it's like, you didn't talk to me for 20 years. And I got really hurt and mad about that. I hate you now. It's
Well, it even starts with, I'm fine. No, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not me, it's you.
I mean,
so you know how we say
the product of their environment, right? So they haven't been around men probably in a generation in Hollywood now. So this is probably their idea of them. Sorry.
Well, you know how we say something ridiculous off the top of our head, and then a month or 2 months later, it becomes actual reality in culture. So if we were to say it now, what do you think it's going to be? For me, I think there's going to be a Sauron thirst trap scene like Khmer, where he'll be shirtless, involving another character. So that's my pitch.
Involving Galadriel, probably.
Possibly, yeah.
We're never going to get a Galadriel shirtless scene, though, which I'm kind of grateful for, to be fair. I don't want to see that. But yeah, this show, man, honestly.
Everybody looks like they work at Google, or what the chat said, or they're a Starbucks barista. Like that's what Middle Earth is.
I'm so worried that they had the orc with his family thing. They put that again at the beginning of the previously thing, which gives me a scary sense that we're going to see that character again in some way.
Are we supposed to sympathize with them? Are we supposed to think they're not that bad?
That's what they're going for now. Yeah, like the orcs are a repressed minority.
They're introduced by just attacking and slaughtering and enslaving people. It seems to be all they do, but this one's got a baby, so shit.
Yeah,
man.
no, everything's relative now. Like the Cylons,
man.
The Cylons, they just think humans are a nuisance, and maybe they've got a point. And like, the Romans trying to conquer Gaul, they're trying to civilize the place, and they got Asterix and Obelix who are taking performance-enhancing drugs and trying to smash them up. So it's all relative now.
Why can't we have simple evil and the just response to that?
They can't commit because if you have it straight laced, the actual dialogue, it would be, listen, Sauron, I love torturing random people, eating people, doing all that, but I feel like you're taking it a step far from my family when you want to start a war. I'm sitting here like, what the what am I listening? What do you want me to think? What do you want me to feel? The writers would be like, well, it's sad, isn't it, that the orcs have families too? I'd be like, you need to stop.
I kid you not, right? The orcs will be marching off to war, and there'll be like other orcs with peace banners and stuff, and saying like, "No war, no more foreign wars."
Well, they're doing that. They're doing that in Dungeons and Dragons too, with the new player's handbook. All the orc art is like, they're having a siesta on the lawn, a picnic, and then they're trying to get away from the orcs being evil for some reason. We're gonna have orc. Reparations soon. I'm sure there'll be a movie for that.
Well, they're just victims of oppression. That's all.
Yeah. The orcs were involved in a mostly peaceful invasion of Gondor.
Yeah. We've got orcs.
It's across the board. It's not just movies and TV.
Oh, yeah. Orcs, like, Cruella de Vil, Scar, who else? Tons of them. Yeah. Just being reassessed. We can conclude
the orcs, ultimately, they are culturally enriching Gondor and all of Middle-earth, really, by being there. So I'm fully in favor of it. I think I want to see more of this. It's all good stuff. There's another question from Canada Plus here. It says, hail to the panel. What would you rather have? A vampire girlfriend who loves you, or an infinite supply of garlic bread that never goes bad? Shit, that's a tough one, actually. Does the garlic bread have cheese on it as well? Because then that's going to seal the deal.
Girlfriend. You have to buy blood all the time to keep her not crazy. I guess you.
Yeah, I mean, she loves you, so she's not going to eat you.
Probably. Oh yeah, I figure that's the beneficial.
But she'll eat all your friends.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah,
that's all right. Like a girlfriend, but
a garlic bread won't eat your friends.
No. What's the positive aspect of the vampire girlfriend?
Hot. Hello.
She won't get old.
Okay.
So
all right.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, I'm going vampire all the way. What are you talking about? Garlic
you do.
There's no rule to the vampire.
Just like any other woman, she'll outlive you and take all your shit when you're dead.
I'll solve this problem. I'll say to it, if you truly love me, you'd get me infinite garlic bread, and then I get both.
There you go.
That's send your vampire girlfriend out on an errand. Get me garlic bread, infinite supply.
Doesn't that kill the girlfriend?
No, they just don't like it. But the thing is, they don't like it.
Spicy, It's to us, it's like a curry to vampires. It's like, all right. Yeah.
But the thing is, if she truly loved you, she would endure the pain to get you that garlic bread.
That would be the lamest and saddest way for a vampire to go out. Garlic bread.
Just like throwing lumps of it at her.
Garlic bread.
The one thing I wasn't ready for. Josh says, "Hail man, when will your video game streams return?" I'm just trying to decide on the next game to stream, if I'm honest with you. I should probably play a bit of that Black Myth Wukong, because apparently that's like fucking epic, and everyone seems to be playing it right now. What I'm going to do is
people in chat are wondering if you're playing Space Marine 2.
No, I never really played any of the Warhammer 40k games. I mean, if it's good, I'd play it.
It looks sick, but I don't know. I mean, PC Gamer just gave it a 6 out of 10, but everything I'm hearing from people who've been playing it who are, real gamers, they actually like it a lot more than that.
I'd be up for playing that. At the moment, I'm just playing like Alan Wake, like the remastered version of that, because people had recommended it to me for ages, and I never got around to it, so that's what I'm doing. But man, I'm up for doing more gaming streams. I tend to do it more. I don't know, like as we get into like the autumn and winter, like I guess when the weather starts to get a bit cold and shitty, I'm more likely to be indoors, and so I'm more inclined to be doing stuff like that. So maybe this is the right time to be doing it. I don't know.
When we're done with Firefly, we should do Resident Evil 5.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'd be up for that. Let's do it. And Hunter Dvorak says, "We've fallen as a society where we can't even voice our criticisms, and they cry racism and sexism. It's all rules for me and not for thee, for these dicked-up shills who call themselves the real fans, yet they threaten you." So, yeah, Gary, you can tell us a little bit about this, because...
It's been...
The Acolyte getting cancelled has provoked quite the backlash.
It has. It's quite a reaction. That they're taking it really well out there. They're taking the canceling of their favorite series. As you said, how does it feel? How does it feel to see something that you love crushed?
They didn't love it though.
No, they didn't. Most
they
of them didn't watch
to like it.
No, it confirmed their bias. That's all it is. There were tweets out there. There were articles written like, "No, the Acolyte isn't good, but we need to save it for what it represented."
Yeah,
exactly. What did it represent?
Well, so that's what I was going to say just real quick, is that this was if anything a good thing. Like people saying, like it sucks that we're in a world where they just censor. It's like they were unsuccessful. YouTube did not censor this time, so that's pretty cool in a way.
Yeah.
No, they backed us up as we thought they would, because we didn't violate any. If we violated any guidelines, believe me, YouTube would have caught it. And what these people have done over the last couple of days is, for one, they have blasted Team YouTube with their targeted campaign, which is against TOS, and they've told on themselves. And they also admitted that they've been flagging our videos for years, which is duh.
This is not Gary.
Is this the Ripley rewrite account or whatever that account's called?
Yeah. This is not Gary's nor any of our first rodeo for people trying to coordinate destruction of our channel. They do it because
they tried to bring about the adpocalypse again for you guys.
Well, I mean, they wanted to. Did you see the post where it said, "We're not looking to remove videos; we just want to demonetize their channels"? It's like,
oh, that's fine then. Yeah,
you'll do it for socialism.
It's
well,
they really want to package this in a kind way, like we're doing work that's saving people. We're trying to protect those who are innocent. They do the marginalized, the minorities, all this insane nonsense. When all it really comes down to is, shut the fuck up about criticizing Star Wars. God damn it. Like, whatever, give you at the time of the IP. This time it was just the Acolyte. They got so fucking mad that series got canceled.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they want to happen. They want you guys silenced. They don't want anybody talking about any of this stuff.
And
that's
all they
the true motivation.
At the time was take the L, but now they've got to fucking swallow it as it gets shoved down their throat. Like, it's just the most glorious little result you could ever get of like, well, that fucked up, didn't it?
If you don't like it, don't watch it. It wasn't made for you. Thank you, next. And then a month later, why didn't you support the show? You know, you guys should have come out and support.
What was that one, like the Charlie's Angels coverage, where it was like, the Charlie's Angels wasn't made for you straight white men, and then literally like a month later, why did no straight white men go and watch this movie? I don't know, man. It's a total mystery to me.
Exactly what it is. As I've said before,
the best back-to-back headline.
Yeah, it was. But I mean,
by the same outlet.
It's the same result with the Acolyte, right? This was Kathleen Kennedy's Disney Star Wars in its final form. It was specifically made for them. They did show up, and their numbers weren't big enough to keep the show going. It was that simple. That's why they're having a hard time. And the fact that like people own spaces here on YouTube is like utterly, it is childish to think that way. And it's ridiculous. And the fact that we're quote unquote invading their spaces, I've never interacted with any of these people other than talking about rewriting Ripley, who I never fucking heard of when they talked to us 3 years ago. They basically copy and pasted a lot of the shit from 3 years ago. They didn't do any real new work. They put together a video, and apparently it was so convincing that YouTube decided that everything should stay the same. Sorry.
Imagine being a YouTube fucking business to take care of this. Then they watch a video where you're like, okay, the Acolyte ratings are down. It's not very good. This doesn't make sense. The actor said about a bunch of stupid shit. See you next time, folks. They just be like, okay, like, I don't. You want me to ban this? And the thing is, like, I really hate the presentation because they'll do this thing right where YouTube gives their answer, and then the people will be like, oh, can't believe it. Yet again, bigotry wins. And you know what, YouTube, you have failed. It's like, whatever. You're going to try this in a couple of months later, and you'll say the exact same thing if YouTube don't follow your request.
It didn't even last as long as Concord. Didn't this whole thing shut down in 24 hours? It wasn't started yesterday or something?
But are they not then opening themselves up to like a counter suit? Almost like they're violating the TOS by like abusing this system.
If there were any justice in this fucking world, Drinker, they'd all go down for the coordinated attack to destroy people's livelihood. Of course they should, but they won't, because they'll get away with this and they'll slither away trying to proclaim they're the moral ones. They are the toxic fandom. They're the ones that are fucking everything up.
They are slime Sauron, like rolling down that hill like a turd.
Down the mountain. And they'll regenerate, and then they'll try again. They'll be like, you know what? I'm still morally above you, and I'm going to smite you down. Then YouTube's like, shut the fuck up.
So 3 sequel films, plus the 2 films in between, plus we got a new Rey film and a Mandalorian and Grogu film. So that in Disney, that's 7 films without a cool dude swinging a lightsaber as the lead character.
Yeah.
So we want just one film. Is that asking too much?
I think you broke this down once where it was like they complain endlessly, like, oh, you know, like Star Wars is so dominated by, you know, straight white male leads.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, if we tally up like all the movies and all the TV shows, like there's literally like two male leads out of all the products that they've put out since 2012. And one of them was like a legacy character, like a middle-aged guy.
Yeah. So no new I think it was one white male lead character swinging a lightsaber in any of this stuff, including the Disney Plus stuff. Just to bring you up to date, the change.org petition helped decanonize the Acolyte is now up to 21,000 signatures. That's great.
Catching up.
We say it helps decanonize it. It isn't. It's not like anyone thinks of it as canon anyway.
No. Yeah. And I wouldn't stop there.
No, fuck no. Decanonize Disney Star Wars.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that.
We just
signed that one too. I signed the one to bring it back because that was so funny. I want to see his next season.
I signed Renew the Acolyte. Both of them. Let's be clear. I am 100% for renewing the Acolyte. I don't know why I'm getting such abuse right now. I'm with you guys.
Let's
help you guys.
Let's double the budget.
Yeah.
Put more money into it. It'll be great. Like I just have to keep plugging away, man. I believe that it'll eventually work.
No, the funny story with this, like it started at 10 a.m. yesterday. It was definitely coordinated. It was a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
Retweeted. I found out in a live stream. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And I saw rewriting Ripley was back. I'm like, okay. I know what's going on. Halfway expected this, to be honest with you. Didn't expect to get it for it to get shot down this quick, but I'm guessing, they've been mass flagging our channels forever. Funny story. Our friend Little Platoon was on Friday Night Tights last week, and we broke down like Rings of Power for 2 hours. One of our tamer episodes. Like, believe me, it got age restricted. it got age restricted, right? So that night, I'm like, how in the hell does this get? So I appealed it, and they shot it down. So I'm like, all right, well, whatever, I lost. There must have been something in there. I'm not gonna go through, like, forget it. Like, go, got to be over 18 or watch it on Rumble. Then all of a sudden, like, when the campaign started in the morning about 10 a.m., by 12 a.m., FNT was remonetized. So it caused, in my opinion, YouTube to take because I never asked to take another look at that, because I guess they were flagging it, and they remonetized the fucking video. So thank you. I want to thank you. Appreciate it. That's never happened. I've never lost an appeal, and then they just magically reverse it a couple days later for no reason.
Yeah,
that is pretty good.
Done.
I don't know. It'll never happen, but these fuckers need to have a We the Baddies moment, like, someday. One day, one of them will. It'll be like, hang on, what we're doing is wrong.
It's that classic tactic of, like, I can't beat this person with actual arguments, so I just have to get them silenced.
Yeah, because
that's all it is.
They're not going to have that certain moment, MauLer. But what's going to happen is you have this vast middle, and they go wherever the zeitgeist is, right? So as the pendulum swings back, they're going to be like, oh, we always were on your side. And that's the unfortunate truth. It's like, and there's this vast middle that moves around, and there's going to be a lot of resentment when that happens, but that's the way most people think.
Well, we'll see what happens when the reckoning comes, because it's
they want to fit in.
As far as I'm concerned, forgive, but do not forget.
No, yeah, well, because I was going to say, like, as someone who, with the EFAP podcast, we've covered a bazillion YouTubers we've thought to be, like, misinformers or kind of manipulators of their audience, or trying to sell shit that doesn't work or is broken, or manipulators, liars, take other people's channels. And just right, we've covered so many videos about my own channel, or Drinkers, GXE, a bunch of others. And, like, we've never advocated that they get removed from the site. We've never advocated that they get just demonetized. We just try to, it's like we want to, beat them down with better ideas. Simple as fuck. Show the world, right? The alternative perspective, but simultaneously, for the record, right? We've covered two different people, one from the left wing, one from the right wing, who wants, like, everyone to die, politically speaking. And both times we were like, this person's insane. But I would prefer everyone's voices get to be heard.
Yeah.
I like how
any of those channels gone.
Well,
I don't care. But
it's the marketplace of ideas, ultimately. And if your ideas have no merit, then, well, no one's going to listen to you.
Well, I like how Amanda Stenberg went grandiose towards the end of her online video and said, so guys, we just got to vote, to make it like super, like it's societal. It has political, socio-cultural implications. After her demonstrations to the locks of hair she did for 20 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, it was like watching a toddler with learning difficulties, like trying to get through a speech or something. It's like, what's the buzzwords that I have to say here? It's like, okay, racism, bigotry, like ultra conservative, hatred, whatever. And then it's like, what else? I don't know. Voting's good. Yeah, vote for things. We like that. Go for it. Save the world. I believe in you.
What do they think they're going to achieve, right? If they knocked us all out, like everyone here couldn't have them. It's like, do you think all the people who felt the need to support the channels and, steer the conversation, that they're all just going to disappear?
Well, Star Wars will be good again.
Star Wars will be fixed. Yeah, it's us really that's destroying it.
I think the ball is rolling, and it's got so much momentum right now with the normies that, they're voting with their wallets now en masse. Even if everyone on this panel were gone tomorrow, I think that there's no stopping this. The pendulum's definitely swinging.
Yeah.
Well, we should feel flattered about we should feel flattered about how much power they ascribe to us, that we collectively as a bunch of YouTubers are capable of these cultural hit jobs where we can destroy a show before it can have a chance to thrive. Yeah. So I guess we're pretty powerful, apparently.
By relatively calmly in some cases, just pointing out how stupid the thing is. Like,
10 years ago, Gamergate was responsible for everything, for fascism, for the rise of everything bad in the world.
Well, I think it's a neat way of avoiding taking responsibility for a failure, right? Because instead of saying like, maybe that show was a bit shit, or maybe people just weren't interested in this idea that we put forward, we can just say, well, no, it was the unfair target of a coordinated campaign of hatred and bigotry, and there's all the evil people that did it. It's not our fault, and that's it. It's like, well, you've completely divorced yourself from all responsibility for what happened. It's someone else's fault now, and you've given everyone a target to hate. That's all it comes down to. It's easy. It's an easy deflection.
This guy with a beard from Texas, he's somehow able to shift the cultural narrative off its axis.
Yeah, man. What are the channels you want canceled next, guys? Let's I'll write this down.
Got a Christmas list for Santa.
Yeah.
You see, Ryan Ripley is in that scene in The Dark Knight. It's like, it's simple. We demonetize the Nerdrotic.
You sounded awfully like Chris Stuckman there for some reason.
Oh, maybe he probably would. Remember, he's the one who won't negatively review any films anymore. He probably would be like, yes, Nerdrotic is actually on film review.
Yeah, Gary, put that at the top of your list if you could. Just take out Stuckman. Appreciate that.
Sure, no problem.
Yeah. I think Stuckman's kind of taking care of that himself, to be fair.
Yeah. I mean, dude, the meme is so funny. It's like, is he reviewing, whatever new film like Borderlands? And we're like, no. It's like, oh, so he thought it was shit, right?
Yeah. There's the one for you from Lewis Hand. Says, Grummz, are you aware of the fact that Sega made a shooter that cost $100 million to develop with ugly, wokeified characters called hyenas? Where hyenas differ from Concord is that Sega had the good sense to cancel it before they even released it.
I had no idea. I heard the name, and that's all I know about it. But that's interesting. So they canceled it before they even shipped it. So Sega knows what's up.
Imagine sinking $100 million into something like that. Like you didn't, and then deciding later that it was shit.
With games, you can do this thing called patching and updates, and you can actually change it. And I think a lot more games can be saved. Like, Concord could have had pulled off the shelf for a year, had a character redesigned and relaunched. They did that with Final Fantasy, No Man's Sky. There should be it's possible to turn those around, but with movies and TV, you're kind of stuck with what's there.
Yeah. Unless you willow it and just put it into a memory hole, then it's gone forever.
Was it just the characters for Concord? Is that the only thing about it, or is it just shit overall?
I think it's look, a hero shooter really depends on the strength of its character designs, more than anything else, right? And I think that what happened was, wokeness and DEI, whatever, it's not solely responsible, but when that forces you to play it so safe with your characters and to swing the other way and make them actually ugly, I think you've got a problem, because if people aren't making Rule 34 of your hero shooter characters, it's not going to sell. It's that simple. It's a genre that's entirely dependent on that.
You're in trouble if there's no Rule 34. They make that for fucking Teletubbies and facehuggers. So
yeah, they actually looked. Some people actually went and looked for Rule 34 of Concord, and there was nothing, which means it doesn't exist according to the internet. And poof, the next week it was gone.
There'll be Rule 34 of a shoe. You're in bad luck if nobody likes you at all.
I like this one from Ian So Forth, who says, everyone who signed that petition to bring back the Acolyte should be forced to watch it live. That will ensure that they never do it again. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. I do wonder how many people signing that petition actually even cared about it or even watched it. Like you say, they just care what it represents.
That's exactly what it represents and the loss it represents. And that's what's kept a lot of bad TV shows around. I think that's confirmation of it. When you saw the cancellation, all the heat that Disney was getting from their own people, probably within their own damn building, to be honest with you. But that probably explains why more cowardly companies probably just don't cancel what they probably should have years ago, like Star Trek Discovery, all of freaking Star Trek. Under Kurtzman, except for Picard season 3, and that's why they don't want to deal with this. So when you let that wolf in the door, that DEI wolf in the door, it is a huge problem that you cannot get rid of. The saying, it's easier to vote your way into socialism than vote your way out. It's the same way with bringing activists in, so you have to deal with your peers, your own employees, and the creatives you hire. And they'll mobilize against you in this new Hollywood we have to deal with now, this new risk-averse corporatism Hollywood. So it had to be so bad for them to have canceled the Acolyte. I mean, they haven't officially canceled She-Hulk. They haven't officially canceled anything out loud. And this one was officially canceled. Like Disney never or very rarely does this unless they are trying to stop something.
Was it said that it was forced because it was leaked? But I was going to say, couldn't they still push back even if it was a leak? They could be like, no, we're not canceling it. That's just
but when the star's coming out and saying, yes, it's canceled, I mean, that's I take that as
you're done.
Very officially canceled. But before that, they could have just not said anything and later on said, oh, we're working on a season 2.
As far as I know, they didn't even release like a nice soft cushioning statement. Like our team has had such a wonderful privilege working with Lucasfilm, and we've grown so much in the show, etc. Just some sort of thing. They didn't even have that. It's just dead cold.
Like
No,
we're just dropping this dead weight. Please don't ever talk about it again.
Talking about statements that there's a statement that's missing. It's the Star Wars Outlaws one following the Acolyte, failure. There's usually a week after the game ships or something, massive sales. We shipped this many, and it's totally mute on Star Wars Outlaws. I think the Acolyte had a huge effect on the sales of that game.
Has anyone played Outlaws here?
Oh, lots of people have played it on YouTube. I haven't actually. No, I haven't bought it. I'm not going to.
You have the privilege of speaking to someone who spent, I think, nearly 20-something hours on it now. Outlaws is fucking abysmal.
Really?
Of it. Fucking terrible.
Did you find the invincible bush that Asmongold did?
Listen, okay, I've played games for like 30 years in my life, and I can tell you this fucking thing, every last aspect of it has the most shallow or broken version you've ever come across in a video game. And yes, that is not a specific glitch that happens randomly that Asmongold encountered. That happens every time you crouch in any long grass, no matter what the situation is. Wow. They have not coded the fucking enemies to be able to deal with it. They just haven't. So much of it is unfinished. It's been kind of glorious and hilarious. The writing's as bad as you'd expect. The mechanics are as shallow and pathetic as you could expect. The one thing sometimes is like landscapes and some textures. You're like, oh wow, look, artists put work into that. But yeah, this thing was rushed out, and I'll try and make some kind of supercut maybe at some point. But
I heard the lockpicking mini game was actually pretty cool. Actually, it was a love-hate thing. Some people really like it. Some people
the rhythm
really
one.
It. Yeah, the rhythm one.
I mean. So just for everyone to understand, the lockpicking minigame is you open up the screen, it'll go doot, 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 doot. You just have to go, so you have to press the button doot, 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 right with the rhythm. That's it.
Thrilling.
So I don't know that I would say it's very good. And then the other hacking, the slicing minigame is Wordle but shit. It's too hard to explain right now, right here. But yes,
they said that you can just spam it to solve it. You don't even have to do anything.
You can brute force it, yeah.
I saw the clip that you showed me more, where it was like you're in the middle of a mission. It's like, right, we're on this planet. Let's take a look around. Let's see the world that this game has to offer. And then the first thing that comes up is, you are leaving the mission area. Please turn around.
So
you couldn't do anything.
The even better version of that, right, is the way they do the space stuff in this. And I don't know if you've seen quote tweets defending this. It's fucking pathetic. But the way the first criticism people pointed out was like how the connection between space and the planets is a it's a loading screen, but it's a smoke screen in an attempt to make you feel like it's all happening in real time. There's a separation that has to be loaded. Now, when I was in space, I just saw, I think it was a selection of about 5 random TIE fighters just fucking listing off in a direction. I thought, you know what? I'm just going to shoot them. I'm just going to shoot them, see what happens. And it's like, oh, the Empire's on you now. You've got, wanted level 2. And I was like, okay. So I blowing them up. I start losing my ship's integrity. So I was like, okay, fuck it. I'm just going to trigger the loading screen to the planet. That'll save me, because I'm a gamer. I know how to manipulate this shit. So I just start speeding toward the planet, and then the game goes no and turns me around. It just like forces me to engage with the TIE fighter. I was like, excuse me? And it was just like, you can't leave. You have to fight them.
See, that's why Baldur's Gate 3 was so amazing, is because you could do anything in that game, and it just like somehow the game accounts for it,
Yeah.
And that's where the power of technology is now. We can do stuff like this with gaming that we couldn't before, and yet we're still having these invisible walls. We're still having these, these forced turnarounds in space.
It's lazy, and it's like shoddy, like rushed development.
With the budgets that AAA has, this is really where they should go. They should say, hey, we can make it so we can take away all these crutches that we used to use in the past because your PC couldn't run it, and just give you this rich open world, especially for an open world game, where you can do anything and solve any problem in a multitude of ways. Take the cue from Baldur's Gate 3. But, Star Wars was well in development before BG3 came out, so there's no way they could get inspiration from that or turn it around at that point. But that's where we need to go for AAA games that have these budgets, is to give us more freedom and flexibility in the world and have emergent gameplay.
Yeah.
Someone just correct me, and it's true. It didn't even turn me around. It respawned me. It gave me a
Oh,
What,
you are
with full
leaving-
health and everything?
Well, I don't know about that, but it said you're leaving an area you're not supposed to be. What I'm trying to get at is like a really cool and impressive open world game would have me pick on the Empire and then fly down to a planet, land, and they'd be able to follow me with the TIE fighters and order some stormtroopers to get me. But the game doesn't know how to do that. So it just says, no, you can't go to the planet until you've dealt with your wanted level with the TIE fighters. And it's just like, what the fuck are you doing? That's not even, none of that feels real or free. It's all bullshit. It's all hollow. And those TIE fighters, like I said, they were just randomly placed, listing off in random directions. I've seen it with my friends testing it out as well. Wanted level 6, that's like the highest. They basically say like, oh, you've got death troopers coming after you now if you're on the planets. And you're like, oh God, what's going to happen? They land 3 kilometers away. And then it says, if you'd like to go and fight the death troopers, they're over there.
Like, no.
I thought they wanted me. Why would I go get them? What the fuck?
I hope GTA
what you
6
can do
shows
like
them how
that.
to do it right.
That's when it can be like in the fucking Obi-Wan show when you show up to fight them and go, so you found me. You've come to kill me.
You've come here to destroy me. Oh God.
And that's the
there was one that came in here. We need a happy hour of drinker watches Time Cop with Space Ice.
Fuck yeah.
God, it's been a long time since I've seen that one. I just
I
remember
like that movie.
Yeah, I remember Van Damme like kicking the bad guy into a past version of himself, and then they just kind of merge together into this horrifying blob, and then just like blink out of existence. It was like a weird time travel paradox thing. I think that was actually
flawless.
Perfect.
I will die on that hill. There's not a single flaw. I dare any of you to come up with a flaw.
It has Van Damme doing the splits in his underwear.
At least 2 Van Dammes.
Yes.
I'd be remiss. Chat's going to be mad at me if I don't mention it. There are QTE sequences that last as long as 5 minutes for eating.
I mean, that's what I want in a game, for sure. Yeah. I think Time Cop was actually the biggest gross of Van Damme's career, though. That was his highlight in terms of box office success.
I thought it was too.
Really?
I thought it was Universal Soldier, but I was wrong, apparently. So, yeah, it was Time Cop. Yeah.
What's the one where he goes on the ship at night? It's like Die Hard, except with him.
Are you thinking Steven Seagal?
I'm thinking Steven Seagal.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch.
It's easy to get those two mixed up. They were at the same level throughout most of their career, but I don't know.
This is heresy. I will not listen to this.
I liked Van Damme a lot more than I liked Seagal. Put it that way. There was
I saw a little bit of Outlaws footage the other day when Despot put it on my stream, and it just looked like PlayStation 3 level type of stuff. You'd be wandering around with these tall buildings, and really claustrophobic and horrible.
PS3 was a better goddamn generation. Okay, we're suffering with this shit.
For me, you know how we talked about like the Lord of the Rings trilogy, like that's where we hit that apex of like storytelling became really good with like big blockbuster movies, and technology had caught up where you could like do really impressive things visually, but it didn't dominate everything. It was like where the two things intersected, and it was like perfect. I think maybe that PS3 era was like where we got that for video games.
Gaming's got there's so many problems that are kind of parallel to movie industry in some ways, shapes and forms, like different creative problems, but one of them is ballooning budgets is getting so nuts. And then a lot of the biggest budget games end up being some of the most hollow, lame, pathetic, and then money burning projects you've ever seen.
You can't have a creative vision when you have look, at least on a movie you're all on set together, right? But in a game development at a AAA size, you've got 6 to 8 studios all over the world with hundreds of people each that are all trying to coordinate, and then you have a committee at the top that is designing it. And I don't think you can create anything with soul at that size. I think that's the problem. And I think there's a lot of fat in gaming. I think teams can be trimmed down, and it doesn't have to be this way. But what happened was there was a period of time where, look, it happened after Gears of War, where we had next-gen graphics, right? And suddenly team sizes had to balloon because the art demands were 10 times what they were before. So we all started hiring like crazy to try to keep up with it. And there was politics that came in where every department was trying to have more people than the others so they could have more say. And things got really ugly and political, especially inside Blizzard. And so you have these little fiefdoms. And this is where a lot of the bloat comes from, is that they maintain these little fiefdoms of, we run 100 people here, we run 150 people here. And they don't want to give that up. And I think it has to happen. So that's why I think voting with your wallet and putting financial pressure on this stuff is really key here, because we do have to cull the herd, unfortunately. And I think that you'll get that creative vision back, and that hollowness you talk about, MauLer, will go away once we get AAA teams that are smaller and using the technology to their fullest advantage.
No, I'm with you on a lot of that. I think that a lot of that makes sense. The kind of hollowness I'm talking about is the game projects itself as you're an outlaw. You get to make whatever decision you want in a big open world of Star Wars, and there are 4 factions that you can either increase, decrease, or leave alone your reputation. From the get-go, was like, I want to be Jabba's main man. I want to be his fucking prime assassin. Let me do whatever I can to do that. One of the earliest missions that relates to Jabba, I am forced on rails to do steal from him and fuck him up and kill his Rancor and shit. And I'm like, I don't want to. I want to be on his team. And then later on, you'll do so. Say for example, Kira from the Solo movie. She's in the game. She's the boss. Yes, she's in it. She's the boss of the Crimson Dawn. And I was obsessed with anything I can do to sabotage the Crimson Dawn, I will take it. And I got my reputation with them down to terrible. That's what the game said. It's you are terrible to them. And I was just like, yeah, that's funny. And then the story comes around to interacting with her, and Kira's like, hello, we should work together. And I'm like, you should hate me. I have done everything I can to damage the Crimson Dawn. You don't even know, because of course the campaign and then the mechanics in the open world they don't even know about each other.
Well, that's what I heard, that the reputation system was such a promising idea for an open world Star Wars game, but by making it so flippant that you can easily reverse it, it just devalued the entire thing. Is that how you found it as well?
Oh, well, see, this is the thing. That might be even generous. It just feels like they didn't put any effort into a lot of this stuff. And maybe they did, and they were only given so much time. But the way I described it to a friend was, instead of how do we make this game finished on time, they said, how do we make it look finished on time? Because any push to any part of the game, it'll break. And I'm not even talking about freezes, which there are plenty of, or walking through walls, which I and a friend of mine called Metal has done on the stream. We've got plenty more than that. And then, of course, you guys have probably seen clips of the AI. The AI is absolutely embarrassing. I'd show you if I had the clip on me, but the little laser fence in Obi-Wan Kenobi, the funny meme of him trying to destroy it instead of walk around. One of those is in the game. I was looking at it and admiring it as look, guys, it's an Obi-Wan thing. And a fucking scout trooper on a speeder from behind me just rams into it and explodes. And I was like, look, it's a Disney Star Wars stormtrooper. It's accurate.
It sounds like a blast of a game. It really does.
One thing I have noticed is I've seen a lot of films where they credit 3 or 4 separate FX companies for doing the effects, and I really wonder what effect that has on the whole aesthetic of a film. How hard it is for these things to be liaising with each other to create the same aesthetic, and if you lose some sort of intense, crucial kind of magic about having one FX team, which is locked in. Here's our aesthetic. We're going to take this through to the end, and they got a connection to it, rather than just being transactional with all these 3 or 4.
I think it's not so much like they're divided up into different chunks of the movie. It's more like they have different layers of responsibility. So I don't know, say if it's an action movie and you have to have someone who puts in blood spurts or bullet impacts into walls and stuff like that. That might be one FX company. There might be another one that does explosions or big, extravagant CGI sequences that are all purely CGI. And there might be another one that just does backgrounds for certain scenes or whatever. So their areas of responsibility, although they're different companies, they're kind of doing slightly different parts of the film that shouldn't interfere with each other. It's not
that would be
go from one scene to the next.
Because if you're talking, because someone has to composite it all at the end. I have a lot of friends that are ex-ILM, and one of them is a compositor, and I'm just imagining him having to source assets from 5 different companies, with the explosion over here and the actor over here and then the background over there. He would be pulling his hair out. That'd be such misery to work that way.
It's I think the Marvel movies are probably the ultimate expression of that, probably with Star Wars as well, where even a person sitting in a room, 50, 60, 70% of the stuff that's around them will be CGI'd in later. And it's just pathetic. Why can't you just build a set that does this stuff? Why can't you do some practical effects? It's not that hard, and it just looks infinitely better. Like there's this weird
It might even be
attachment that comes in now. It possibly would be, yeah. I mean, look at the Snow White movie, right? The trailer that we saw, where fucking poor Rachel Zegler is like dancing with these CGI monstrosities. You could have just, and like even the room that she's standing in isn't real. Like that's all CGI as well. She was probably just in a big warehouse with like green walls, and everything else is composited in around her. Just have her be in an actual set of a house with dwarf actors. Easy.
That's got to affect your acting too.
Probably, yeah. And I don't think she's an amazing actor anyway. But like, yeah, if you don't have anything to play off, like, why are you hampering your performance like that? Why are you hampering your actors? You don't need to do that.
Like when you have to react to the tennis ball and the pole as being a character. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, that's just the way things are made now. I suppose that's how they're done. But yeah, it's such a shame. Yeah, the other thing I wanted to chat about a little bit was people kept recommending the new Terminator Zero like TV show on Netflix to me. It came up on a couple of live stream catch-ups, and I thought I'll give it a little go. I'll take a look at it because a lot of people were saying quite good things about it, and I'm about halfway through the season now, and I have to admit I'm surprised at how good it is. I think this might be the best Terminator product we've had since T2, which I know is quite a low bar, but I think it probably is. I'm actually quite invested in it. I think the characters are quite good. The animation is excellent. I never would have picked anime as like the medium for expressing Terminator, but wow, I quite like what they've done.
Do you think, like, picture yourself though, Drinker, like being told it might be the best thing since T2? Is that much of a compliment, really, at all?
I would argue it has to be. I like the Sarah Connor Chronicles, the show. I thought that was quite good. Got cut off.
I never watched it.
I didn't.
I've heard it's meant to be quite good. I can't judge it on that, but I can also, if I was to compare it to T3, Salvation, Dark Fate, and Genesis, yeah, it's probably better than them. It's iffy with Salvation because I thought that was actually okay, but I quite like what they're doing with it, and it opens up this Terminator universe a little bit, because I think this is the thing that pisses people off so much about the Terminator movies. They're all just the same plot point recycled over and over again. It's another Terminator sent back through time. The Connor family are probably going to be involved somehow. It's going to be in America. It's going to be in the present day, and it's all just bleh. It's the same thing over and over again. This is a little bit different. Takes it to a completely different part of the world. It's set just before Judgment Day. One of the main characters is trying to prevent it with his own competing AI. It's kind of an interesting idea. I don't know how it's going to end, but even the character that's sent back from the future, she's not like a girl boss. She's not some invincible, perfect, flawless, heroine who can do anything. She gets fucked up in the course of this show, and I don't know, man. I'm kind of intrigued with it. It's better than I expected it to be.
I saw the first episode. I am not enthralled yet, but maybe it needs more time. I will see it through.
Give it time.
Okay.
Give it time.
But I also saw it like right after I watched Arcane with with MauLer. So I finally watched half of. Is it half? We're at halfway through. Yeah. We're halfway through Arcane.
Yay!
I'm liking it quite a bit. I saw the pink hair and the blue hair. I'm like, fuck this show. I don't want to watch it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be real. I'm like, fuck, enough of that. But the animation and the world is fucking awesome. So I like it a lot so far. Saw Terminator Zero first episode. I'm like, it is different. Okay.
I'm going to die on the hill. I think Terminator Salvation is a good film. I really like that film. I don't
hate Salvation.
It's got a grittiness to it. It's got Christian Bale. The color palette looks great. It looks kind of washed out. You got some cool elements.
Dude, we got the Christian Bale rant out of that. We got like an epic rant out of that. Like, good film. We got to thank it just for that. Sarah Connor Chronicles, guys. If you haven't seen it, like, it fucking finishes on a cliffhanger. But sorry, but like, watch it. It's actually pretty good.
I think like the problem with Salvation, I think, is
don't know if it's a hill I want to die on, but like,
yeah,
yeah.
I
just don't know. It's undervalued. It's not great. I just think it's undervalued.
No, I think the whole. I think the weakest aspect of it is the fucking Marcus character, which they used to try and tie together the past and the present. I don't think he's needed at all. I think if you cut him out of it and just focused more on John Connor and Kyle Reese, like it would have been a much more interesting movie.
Well, I was always struck by
there's tons of good shit in it. That's all I'm saying.
I was struck by how much the style deviated from everything we were shown in T1 and 2 for the future. It's totally. It's what?
They took a punt, you know? It was good.
They did.
Sure.
It's. I think, you know,
like in what
maybe
sense? In like a team sense, and like what is like an American football punt or a punt from Australia?
It's when you it's when you just like take a wild shot and just hope for the best. And like I think
because punting here is like fucking giving up. Yeah, it's a bit different.
No, if you punt, that's like it's like a rugby thing where you kick it like up the pitch and just hope for the best. Like you hope that your players are going to get it and like do something with it. But yeah, with Salvation, I think they realized like we can't just do another time travel story where a Terminator gets sent back to the present day to kill John Connor. We've done this like 3 times already. We have to do something else now. And so that was fine for what it was. I think people didn't maybe appreciate it for what it was at the time, and maybe we're a bit kinder to it now in retrospect. But then they followed it up with just doing the same shit again, but even worse with Genesis, and then Dark Fate was just
unforgivable,
pure retardation. I don't even know how to describe it.
Genesis and Dark Fate are a fucking package deal of the worst possible sequels you could do for Terminator.
Both signed off on by James Cameron. James Cameron wrote the story for one of them.
Yeah. He's like Jack Black at this point. Like having him involved in a story is not like it's not a sign of quality.
No.
Him and Ridley Scott. Yeah.
Is there an Arnold character in the Zero?
There is. Like there's like a T-800, but it doesn't look like Arnold because I think that in this universe and probably in like the original one as well, like there's different models. So like you've still got the basic Terminator underneath, but like it'll have different appearances. And so this just looks like a sort of generic guy who's just big and muscular.
Yeah, James Cameron's got 5 ex-wives to feed, so that might explain a lot.
But I do like with this, it uses some of the tropes of the early Terminator movies, like, you know, a resistance fighter comes back, a Terminator comes back, they're battling it out, but there's like another layer of intrigue that the humans are not unaware of what's coming in the future. Some of them seem to know about it. Some of the characters are not quite what they seem. And you even get elements of the story from Skynet's perspective. And so I don't know, it makes for like an interesting, different take on it that's not just the same thing over again. So, yeah, I'm kind of curious about it. I just think, I don't know, it's nice to see someone taking on the Terminator franchise, the Terminator mythos, who's clearly quite passionate about it and wants to do something interesting with it than just rehash the same ideas again and again.
I'm with you on that. I just Terminator was so ready to not be as shit as Dark Fate or Genesis, so that, you know, like it annoys me that it's like finally someone's taking it and doing something. It's like it was never hard to do something with a killer robot.
Right.
You guys, they made it look fucking impossible with those 2 movies.
Well, I think because it's set in Japan, and so there's elements of the Japanese culture that the show plays with, like the fact that people don't have guns like they do in America, and so they're not as easy to come by there. So the Terminator has to arm itself with other things, and I don't know. I just think that's kind of cool, like just applying different cultural norms to it. Like Terminator is not something I had ever thought of as being existing outside of America and American culture, and like, you know.
So does this take place in the 90s? If you said it's before Judgment Day, was that like the late 90s?
So it's in 97.
Yeah.
So literally, so it literally takes place most of it the
2
day
different
before.
times, right?
I like the look of it.
Yeah,
I like the look of it.
Yeah, it takes place like literally the day before Judgment Day, and one of the characters knows that it's going to happen, and he's doing something that he thinks might prevent it. That's what he's working towards. Skynet sends the Terminator back to take out him, to stop him, and they send a resistance fighter back to try and stop that, and it's pretty good. All that stuff I think works fine, but there's another layer to it.
Just getting to generic good, after having Skynet go through puberty and then having Legion take over from the other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think that's, we joke about this and stuff. This is the one thing that we've never gotten is like a little bit of an insight into Skynet itself. Like, how does this thing operate? How does it see the world? How does it relate to
Salvation?
humans?
It does a bit of that. Skynet.
Not enough. Not much, though.
I mean, it's Helena Bonham Carter's like the avatar of Skynet or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying they've tried it. It's Remember, Terminator Genesis had fucking Matt Smith as the avatar of Skynet.
Yep.
I think by the time you meet that version of Skynet, it's
Yes.
very much it's entrenched in the war against the humans, so it knows what it wants to achieve. I'd be more interested in like, what does Skynet think of humans before it turns evil? Why does it decide to do what it does? That I think is an interesting thing to explore because you never get to see that.
Well, it's what Arnie says that it is in your nature to destroy yourselves. That's what
you got
says.
that, but you've also got it short circuits to you're an existential. Humans are ultimately an existential threat to Skynet, so Skynet's going to wipe them out before the reverse.
Yeah, but I think you could probably do more interesting things with that, and I think that's what this show touches on. There's like, certainly in the episodes that you haven't seen yet, there's more debate around like, well, what do humans bring to the table? Like, what do they offer the world? What have they done that's actually benefited the planet that they live on? Stuff like that, which I think from a machine's point of view, it's like, well, okay, you literally just consume resources and destroy and pollute and like ruin everything that you come across, and everything that you develop ultimately becomes a weapon to fight wars against each other.
Hey, you just
what is it
described
about
Disney.
you? Yeah. But it's like, well, what is it about you that's even worth saving? And I think that's quite an interesting discussion to have within this framework, I suppose. So the show touches on things like that, which I think is actually quite cool stuff. In amongst like robots crushing people's skulls and blowing people in half and stuff. Like the show doesn't scrimp on action or gore, which is very nice to see.
Well, the way you described it, I'm definitely going to check it out. But the design of the Terminator looks really cool too. It's going to date me, but I immediately had flashbacks to Bubblegum Crisis, the anime, and the robots there called boomers, actually.
Yeah. Well, I think the design of the Terminator fundamentally is great. It's a great aesthetic. It was born, as far as I understand, it was born by James Cameron having some crazy fever dream where he imagined like a metallic skull like coming out of flames, like coming after him, and that's an example. Yeah,
yeah.
That's an example of what you get in the show where like one's been damaged, and again.
So is this coming out of a Japanese studio or is it just set in Japan?
Both.
Yeah,
both as far as I know. So it's on Netflix, and I think a Japanese animation studio did it.
Cool. Do we know which studio?
I could find out for you.
Is it? Do you think this is a redemption arc for Netflix and doing original animes? Like aren't they redoing One Piece?
They are.
I'm really worried about that one.
Yeah,
but
it's supposed to be a leaner, meaner version.
Was it Amazon though who did the live action One Piece? Or is it Netflix?
Yes.
All right, so I'm not going nuts.
No, it's Netflix. It was Netflix. It was Netflix.
Oh, okay. So it was done by...
Amazon can do good shows when Jennifer Salke is not involved. But they also have some shit. Same Netflix is... they've gotten better at being balanced. We'll just say that. They still have all the stuff they had on before, but then they'll let Joe Rogan do a live comedy show, and we'll get some good shows once in a while. So they've done a better job of being balanced. And I think that 1 year where they stopped gaining subscribers kind of woke them up to that,
Just to answer your question there. So this was created by James Cameron and Galen Hurd, interestingly enough. It was produced by Production IG, which is Japanese animation studio, and Skydance Television.
I don't know that studio. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Why is Disney
just trying to
Plus
think what
such a tiny part of the pie, Gary? You see Disney Plus, it's like 5% of the streaming market.
Because
Why
they
the
suck.
disconnect there? Is this just that it?
They tried to break in and they failed.
They did. They don't have it. They have a lot of old Disney stuff that people have already watched 1,000 times, and they really were going to rely on people are going to park their kids in front of the screen to watch Disney Plus when kids don't watch TV anymore. Like,
so if you have the Acolyte gets half the viewing figures or less of Andor, and this is out of a total of 5% of the total streaming pie, that's basically no one watching.
No.
Yeah.
Well, look at the Rings of Power on Samba TV, which is just, I mean, it's not purely anecdotal, but it's a kind of a measurement. It's kind of a measurement that we can go off of. The first 5, they added a day. It's 5 episodes, 900,000 views. Drinker got that in under 24 hours.
Yeah,
on his review. Like, it took them 5 days to drag that out for the first episode. We don't know what the next 2 were. I don't really care, but and they lost. So they added a day to the measurement of the first episode of the first season, which was 4 days. So they actually lost more than 50%, probably more like 63% of their audience, which is what they lost during the first season. It really adds up. So yeah, it's a smaller piece of the pie. Disney's now bundled with Hulu here in America, though. So Hulu was way more established. It's got a just a better menu and everything. So that's and they still haven't turned a profit. Disney Plus was supposed to turn a profit this year. It was supposed to happen this year.
Yeah, according to Bob.
They're running out of time. So they're going to turn a profit by bundle and forcing you to get ESPN and Hulu. And with the live sports, they'll probably say, we eked out a profit.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Same
I know
thing
Gary
with gaming and Xbox Game Pass. No subscriber growth. They're in real trouble after spending multiple billions in acquisitions for content.
Yeah. Gary, I know you have to drop out in a second. I just before you go, I wanted to say, as Lance here has posted up, he's going to be interviewing Gayla Hurd on his channel on September 25th. So the woman who helped to produce like movies like Aliens, Terminator, like she has done it all in her career. He's going to be on her channel. So if you got a chance, check that out. But
I don't know where I heard that the producer in The Fall Guy was based on her. I don't know.
I heard this as well, actually.
Yeah. So
because they went for a very specific look and feel for that character, you know. Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
And you know that actress was? It was the Shame.
Yeah, no. Well, I know her from Ted Lasso.
Okay.
Hannah Waddingham.
The Shame actress.
The Shame actress. I forgot her name now.
Hannah Waddingham.
Yeah, no, her character in Game of Thrones.
Oh fuck! Did she even have a name? I thought she was just like an extra.
Septa something. Yeah,
it's in the books too. Like her name's in the books, but I forgot.
Yeah. No, she was very good in Ted Lasso. I must admit, I liked her in that. But
she was funny in Fall Guy too. It was pretty funny.
Yeah. But thanks for coming on tonight, Gary. It's always a pleasure, and I will be seeing you tomorrow night on FNT.
I'll see you tomorrow on FNT. It's I guess the one lesson we learned here is if you're a content creator, don't hitch your wagon to one franchise unless it's Steven Seagal. Okay, and then that's the only way to go.
Fails.
Never fails. Thanks everyone. Thanks for all the support out there. By the way, appreciate you guys, all you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Now I have to go watch Rings of Power episode 4 again.
Be brave.
Bye.
Guys, thank you. I was going to ask you, Space Ice, because recently, I got this book recommended to me called The Last Action Heroes, and it was all about like the rivalries and stuff between all of the big guys back in the 80s and 90s, like Schwarzenegger, Stallone, Seagal, Jean-Claude Van Damme, even Chuck Norris was like thrown into the mix. I don't know if you've like heard of it or like read it at all.
I have never heard of that until right now.
Honestly, like if you get the chance, I would give it a read. Like I know you're probably quite knowledgeable about a lot of these guys anyway, but it's such an interesting insight into like their kind of upbringing, how they got into the action movie genre, but also just like the shit that they did. Because I didn't know that Van Damme actually squared up to Seagal, apparently.
Yeah, according to Stallone, twice.
Yeah, like at a party at his house. I didn't know that. I thought they all just like two pot shots at each other from a distance.
No, it was mostly Seagal. He's he's got some personality disorders. So
Yeah,
and cocaine is a hell of a drug, so that was probably involved.
It was for Van Damme, that's for sure.
Definitely.
No, I feel like if they got into a fight, like Van Damme would have wiped the floor with him. Like,
Yeah, it would not have been close. Like Seagal, I mean, Van Damme actually has a fighting background. He did some kickboxing, which Seagal did that Aikido nonsense. And if you've practiced, like actually trained to fight, you will usually beat an untrained to actually fight person. You can just tell by the way somebody walks, the way somebody moves, like, okay, he knows the fundamentals. He's going to beat this guy's ass. Seagal will, I don't know, he does his little wrist shit that doesn't work on anything, but that's all he's got. You've seen his little demonstrations. They're actually hilarious.
Oh,
didn't Van Damme do that thing like 3 or 4 years ago where there's like 2 trucks slowly moving apart from each other? And
the
he's doing,
Volvo
like,
commercial, did the splits over.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
I didn't know as well. Like, I only found out this from the book. Like, Van Damme got into he got his break through Chuck Norris because he knew someone who knew Chuck and like ended up training with him and stuff and being like almost like a runner for him or something. And eventually they allowed him to like get cast in a few movies, and his fame kind of like gradually grew from there. And then he did Bloodsport, and that was his first like starring role. It was
the original Predator, and
he was. Yeah,
that's right.
He threw his name out from being in Predator. He's like, I'm in Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he was, but he had just gotten fired, but they hadn't taken his name off yet. So like, oh shit, he's an actual star. So next time in Bloodsport.
Yeah, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, like just how you like fake it until you make it. Basically, like that guy had to graft in order to get any kind of like traction in Hollywood. But he found a way, man. It was impressive.
Thank the cinematic gods they didn't go with that suit in Predator. That would have been shocking.
That was Arnold who helped with that. Ironically, like they were struggling with the Predator suit. They cut Van Damme loose, but then they were obviously stuck thinking like, well, okay, what do we replace it with? And Arnold said like, well, let's bring Stan Winston in. He'd worked with him previously, and it's like, okay, this guy can design us something. Stan Winston started working on it. They cast Kevin Peter Hall as the Predator, like the opposite of Van Damme, who was like 5'2" or whatever. They said we'll make this thing gigantic. And then he happened to be on a flight with James Cameron, who was looking at Stan Winston's sketches for the Predator's face, and he's like, let's put mandibles on his face, like a crab or something, to make it look properly alien. That would be cool. That was his suggestion, just randomly, because he happened to be sat there. And that's what they did. And then you got that iconic look for the Predator. It was happenstance. But that movie got rescued by that decision. Like, if it hadn't been for that, it would have been a complete farce.
Yeah, Z-grade.
I agree.
Yeah.
You're going to have that be smaller and more agile instead of what they got. And I think it is a lot better for what it is.
Yeah. Because, like, it's as big as Kevin Peter Hall is, and obviously the suit was difficult to move around in, he's still able to make it look fairly like fast and like graceful, at least in the way he moves. It's very deliberate. I think partly it's because he couldn't really see what he was doing. Like the eyes were like basically blind, so he had to just memorize where everything was and then go through the movements. And I think he twatted Schwarzenegger a few times in the face when they had to do the fight scene, because again he couldn't see him, so he was just like swinging wildly and hit him. But yeah, it worked out pretty good. I mean, we talked before about this, MauLer and I especially, like how smart that movie is and how easily it transitions from all these different ideas, like the big gung-ho 80s action movie to like a survival horror movie, to finally like this primordial battle between a guy like, removed from all his technology, all his weapons and everything, just having to use his wits and his resources against this monster. It's a cool idea, and they've never equaled it.
Yeah, film's incredible. I could talk about that film for hours.
I mean, did you ever watch Prey at all?
Yeah. Didn't quite get the magic of it in that one.
That was one note. With the Amber Midthunder, is that the?
Yeah.
It was okay. It wasn't the first one, but it wasn't terrible.
Yeah. I think
they've made worse Predator movies. I'll say that.
They definitely have, yeah. Yeah, that's probably the best way to describe it. It was like, it was all right, I guess. It's not terrible, but yeah, it's just, for me, it wasn't a patch on the original.
No.
Excuse me.
Well, they got a sequel to that coming out. There's a Prey 2 coming out, I think, next year.
Yay.
Why?
Great.
Why?
Yeah.
My God.
I don't know, because it'll eke out a profit, and it'll be generic and risk averse and workmanlike, and have all the tropes, and then a bit of a tidy profit.
I've said before, like, I was a big fan of Predator 2, and I think that's a super underrated sequel.
Me too.
I don't know
agree.
yeah, I like it.
It's got tons of cool style to it. It's the sweatiest movie ever made.
I like how everyone wears gigantic fucking baggy trousers as well.
Oh,
yeah.
There's
The early 90s were just
what's his face is coming up a ladder in a thing, and it's like you freeze frame it, and it's like MC Hammer pants basically.
Pantaloons. Yeah. That's what they imagined the far off future of like 1997 was going to look like.
Mm-hmm. I like the voodoo elements. I like it's brutal.
King Willie,
yeah, and plus it's the body horror, and that is pretty shocking too.
Yeah.
And what's his name? Gary. Who's the guy? Gary Busey. He's good in that film. He can deliver that line, man. A fucking alien. That's great. That's good.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It really is.
Gary Busey's good in everything.
Yeah. He was definitely good in Under Siege. I think that was.
Oh yeah, he and Tommy Lee made that movie.
Yeah, I think it was Tommy Lee's idea to make the villain like more of a rock star, kind of like leather jacket wearing. I don't even know, like
I heard something like that too.
Yeah, because I think the original take on the character was he was a pretty just generic bad guy who didn't really have much personality, and Tommy Lee Jones came in and says like, "Oh, come on, let's do something more interesting."
Yeah, I think Gary Busey came up with the whole cross-dressing idea.
He did. Yeah,
definitely sounds like Busey.
You know, Erica Eleniak jumping out of the birthday cake. That was Seagal's idea. He insisted on that.
That doesn't sound like Seagal. What?
Yeah.
Usually there's no strippers or anything in Seagal movies.
He actually tried to push for a sex scene as well. And I think
100% believe that.
I can't verify this 100%, but apparently it was Gary Busey and Tommy Lee Jones who argued with the director, saying like, no, this doesn't make sense in the story. Like, if all this shit that's going on, and like there's like nuclear missiles about to get launched and stuff, she is not going to be up for a quick shag on a like floor of some battleship. Like, so Seagal did not get his way there.
I love it when actors have flights of fancy and they get indulged, even though it's against everyone's best interests. Like you did production hell with the Island of Dr. Moreau, where what's his face just like the midget so much that they had a whole scene of him playing pianos together. And
he forced people to like shake his hand and stuff, and like they were all terrified of him. And apparently the midget guy was like a real predator. So like you couldn't leave him alone with like the actresses or anything. I think my favorite story from that movie is like I think her name is Fairuza Balk, who played like the daughter of Marlon Brando's character. She straight up tried to run away. Like she tried to flee the country, and they caught her at the airport and frog marched her back to the set to carry on filming. I just think that's amazing.
With Predator, there's so many cool times in history and places where you could set it. I always thought it'd be cool to have it in World War II, especially like if the World War II is like winding down in Europe, and then you have like this extra presence come in and amongst all the carnage and brutality. That'd be cool.
I thought it, like, say you set it on Iwo Jima or somewhere like some some island in the Pacific, right, where American and Japanese soldiers end up having to like team up and fight together to like defeat this monster thing that's killing them both.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That could be quite cool.
Because you got the swampy, hot elements.
Yeah, exactly.
And you could have, because you got war veterans who've been fighting for 3 or 4 years and are used to, got the high instincts and everything. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Oh well, I'm here, Hollywood.
Win one though. You can't just have the Predator keep coming down in different scenarios and getting its ass beat.
Yeah.
Well, eventually that gets stupid.
I can't wait for the film where he fucking wins. Let him win.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be cool too.
Yes.
Or at the very least, like he fights to an honorable draw where he just decides, you know what, you fought really well. I'm going to let you live. That'd be quite cool.
Do they do that? The first one, he blew himself up instead of.
Yeah, he was a sore loser.
Really was.
The one in Prey was just retarded, where he got killed by his own fucking weapon, which was just
that was pretty stupid.
Joshua here says, MauLer, it's been entertaining watching you lose your sanity playing Outlaws. At least you found your favorite Star Wars character, though, the legendary Kay Vess.
Ugh, she's so terrible. She does the thing, the Californian character thing, where every single circumstance she's just like, whoa, that was crazy. Let's get to this next thing. Someone like her like friend of 5 minutes that she fully trusts because the story's written like shit betrays her. And then she's like, why would you do that? Or, oh no. And then that guy dies. And then she's like, well, that was close. You don't buy any of it.
I like how you've stuck with the Star Trek theme though, with all your different stream names. Like, so you've got the undiscovered Sneem. So like, where can you go from here?
Well, I guess next one will be Final Sneem. That's the last title that works because I'm not going to call it the motion Sneem.
Sneem Generations or something. I don't know.
That delves into the TNG movies. That's like a breach in a line, but I can't call it like the Journey Sneem. So yeah, I'm running out of names.
Sneem Resurrection.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, go down the alien route. Elsie Le Pen says, I'm absolutely looking forward to Sonic 3 devouring Mufasa and Craven at the box office come December. Hell, I forgot there even was a Craven movie. Yeah, everyone fucking forgot there was a Craven movie. Are you guys excited for Craven the Hunter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's Sony, right?
I think it is, yeah. It's part of their little Venom verse or something that no one gives a shit about. Yeah.
Have they made anything good? Or has it been Marvel making the good stuff with Spider-Man?
Well, Madam Web, come on.
Yeah, Madam Web was
Madam Web, obviously.
Yeah.
Depends how you feel about the Venom movies, I guess.
If it wasn't for Madam Web, we essentially wouldn't know about Sydney Sweeney, so
I guess that's true, yeah.
We got something good out of that. TGV Monster says, Drinker, have you ever played Resident Evil Outbreak series? It takes place during 2 and 3, and it explores different places in Raccoon City and expands the lore. No, so I haven't played like spin-off games like that, but I'm told that the Outbreak games are actually quite good. And they're like team-based multiplayer stuff, so yeah, I'd be up for trying that sometime. Spaceman says, Slow Horses Season 4 is out. Are we 4 seasons into Slow Horses? Jesus. Silo Season 2 is coming. Apple is the new HBO. Yeah, I'll say this about Apple, right? They don't make an awful lot, but what they make tends to be quite good, and they're quite careful about what they actually commission. So, good on them, I suppose.
Looking forward to Severance.
Did you watch Silo, Drinker?
I started it. Yep. I think first episode or two didn't grab me necessarily. I just think I needed to give it more time, and I just didn't have enough at the time to do it.
Fair enough.
But like, I didn't dislike it or anything. It was just like, bad timing perhaps with it. But I'd be up for getting back into it because I know you thought it was pretty decent. So
yeah, I mean, it's funny. It came around a similar timeline to it felt to me like a better Fallout than Fallout. So I was enjoying their attempts I liked the intrigue, and I thought that they were pretty good on coming through on a lot of the payoffs. Like the nature of their history only goes back 200 years or whatever, and that everyone there has chosen to just deal with that when it's like this kind of conspiracy happening. And then, is the outside poisoned? Is it not? And what are the power levels in the silo looking like? I think the thing that really pulled me in was they have this big screen for the outside world where it looks perished and horrible and stuff. And there's this episode where, for once in their whole history, their power core is fucking up, and the engineers need to fix it desperately, otherwise things are going to go seriously wrong. And they decide they need to shut it down for I think it's a half hour, and then turn it back on, which has never been done, but they have to in order to fix it. And there's this when they power it back up, everyone's like, "Oh, thank fuck!" It's quite close. They do it; it's all working out. And there's this tiny glitch where the screen itself is portraying the outside world, and it flickers for 1 second for a world that looks pretty clean,
right?
And then it flickers back, and it's just like, what the fuck? Loads of people don't know that what they just saw. They're like, what was that? And it's just like, nothing.
That's pretty interesting. So you can never trust anything that you see in this show. Well, I like that idea.
Yeah, it's like I said, intrigue is definitely the main power they've got. So it's really going to be how they come through as time goes on. But I've liked a lot of the payoffs so far.
The right tackle says, Brother, the Emperor calls and we must answer. Play Space Marine 2. It's a hell of a time and a great Great to see finally 40K have a very well done game. All right. So I assume it's just a first-person shooter. In which case, yeah, I'm fine with destroying alien races with a bolter.
Co-op horde shooter.
Right. It's essentially like
a lot of focus on
Helldivers.
Yeah, and people are saying that this is going to be the final nail in the coffin for Helldivers.
Yeah. Well, that game's like lost about 90% of its audience already anyway, so
yeah, they really lost the plot there, and they know Space Marines is coming, so they're really trying hard.
That's such a shame because I really enjoyed Helldivers. It's a great game to play with like 2 or 3 friends. You know,
when it was a power fantasy, it was great, and then they got all sweaty milsim, and they wanted to make it, take the fun out of it. I've seen this before. You get this mentality of designers versus the players because we're competitive gamers, right? So it's like, oh, the players can't get away with that, and then you start nerfing things that you shouldn't be nerfing, and that was it was the start of a really downhill trend for them. And it's really unfortunate. I think that could have been game of the year or even more.
Yeah. No worries, man. Grummz, I know you have to leave us, sadly.
I do, yes.
Pretty much out of time. But yeah, thank you for coming on, man. I appreciate it. It's been good to get your insight into like this debacle with Concord and everything that's going on in the gaming industry. So I appreciate your time.
Yeah, I really enjoy your stream. Thanks for having me again. And if I can just do a little plug here, I'm at 199,000 followers on Twitter, so close to 200K. If you could give me a follow at Grummz there, I would greatly appreciate it. Thanks again for having me.
No problem, man. And yeah, let's see if we can get him to 200 because he's almost there. Sorry, because I normally put people's YouTube channels on the link description, but obviously you don't have one. But like,
I guess
Twitter is where you're. Yeah. So yeah.
All right,
if you
guys.
Get a chance, follow him on Twitter.
Thank you very much, and take care, everyone.
See you, dude.
Thanks, man.
All right.
Cool. I'll do a couple more super chats just before we finish up here. Blue Collar Loser says, saw a sold-out show of Beetlejuice last night. The entire theater laughing. Keaton nails every scene that he's in. Is it a great film? No, but fun, and it was enough for me. Well, that sounds all right. I'm actually going to go see it tomorrow because we're going to be talking about it on Friday Night Tights.
Yeah, I should have asked Gary for his quick thoughts. I meant to do that. Oh well.
Has he seen it already?
Yeah, he's seen it.
Okay.
I'm not going to watch it. It just occupies this very precious and sweet part of my soul and history, and I just don't want to sully that. I'm sure it's fun. I'm sure it's good. I just don't want to. I just want to have that one singular performance, and that's it.
Well, I'll tell you what. I will see it, and if I think it's really worth your time, I will let you know.
Okay.
Otherwise, yeah, it might just be like a. I just hope it's. I hope it's something. I hope it's not just another disastrous resurrection of an old franchise. Give us something good. H.R. Geiger's search history says, did you guys see George Martin's blog post? Because damn, if Ryan even has a plan at all, was a brutal thing to say publicly. I'm all for the honesty.
Yes, I love the honesty, yeah.
I didn't see all of his blog posts, but I saw the whole bit about like, it's been a really tough year for America and the Western world and stuff. And I'm scared about Trump, and so that's why I haven't written Winds of Winter yet.
Okay, well, moving on to the blog, I assume they're referencing the one where he criticized Hot D, which, by the way, I'd love it if we were in a world where that could happen commonly, but we're just not. Like, people who are thoroughly involved expressing just how much they are not happy with certain decisions, it would clarify a lot, and I think it would just create a more open conversation and maybe encourage the people who make Hot D to explain why certain things have gone a bit wrong, because some of the stuff he talks about, Blood and Cheese, one of the biggest examples, is something that the whole world seemed to have issue with who was familiar with the source material. He did too, and it was like, good. In terms of like, so we are on the same wavelength. We understand, like, we have the same problems. We can see the same. He talks about the butterfly effect and how that's going to cause problems in future for different things. Granted, I did stop reading at that point because I was only interested in what happens in the show. I didn't want to spoil too much from what happens in the book. So I was thinking about it from that aspect, and I was like, that's it's cool that it happened. It puts Ryan Condal in an awkward position, as well as HBO, because that's George R.R. Martin shitting on the show. But you can handle it in a way that's amicable and everything. To my knowledge, the newest thing that's happened is he deleted the post, which is so pointless. It's already done, George. Everyone's got it now. And to be honest, it was like, he didn't anticipate that it would be seen as quite aggressive. I mean, it's not aggressive necessarily, but it is uniquely aggressive in our culture to see something like that happen. And I don't see why he deleted it. I would have kept it up, of course. I don't know what this means going forward. I don't know if they're gonna like have awkward relationship now, him with the show or whatever. Like, or they're gonna send him a letter saying like, "Can you please shut the fuck up? You're ruining the marketing," that sort of thing. You know.
I think ultimately, like, what people want from him is to just shut the fuck up about the TV shows and just finish his book. Like, you're an author. You're not a show writer. You're not a showrunner. You're not. This isn't your responsibility to make these TV shows. Just do the thing that you're there to do. And it's like, the longer he doesn't do it, the less respect that people have for him and the less interest they have in what he has to say.
Yeah, a lot of the responses are related to like, yeah, you're being critical of them making this, but you're not making anything yourself. You know, like that sort of angle.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
he's so fucking unbelievably lucky. Like, there's so many authors out there who would kill to be in the position where they get not one but multiple TV shows. Because, like, this is just the first of many, isn't it? Like, there is many more that are in production right now based on his books.
Mm-hmm.
So this is all like hundreds, if not thousands, of people are like laboring away to bring all of his books to life in various media. And he's sitting there complaining about it while doing fuck all actual work himself. Like, I'm sorry, I don't have that much sympathy for you right now.
Are people still interested in the books after the way the series ended?
I think so.
If he was to announce it tomorrow, as in like it's going to be available to pre-purchase or whatever, and it's going to be out in like a month, people would go crazy, I think.
I mean, I'm sure there are people that will buy it, but I feel like it's not in the zeitgeist anymore. People don't really care about the original Game of Thrones. Nobody really talks about it except to shit on the last couple seasons.
No, yeah, he's missed a window of the height of the popularity, but he's still got people out there ready and willing and waiting to read it. I mean, hell, a lot of us will be. Like, they'll jump on that.
I think from a TV show point of view, I think House of the Dragon, as good as it is and as interesting as it is, it's not getting anywhere near the viewing figures and the cultural sort of impact that Game of Thrones had. So it's very much a niche show now for people who are just hyper passionate about this universe. And yeah, the only draw now, I think, for the books is maybe he's going to do a better job than the TV show did of wrapping up the Game of Thrones story.
If he can get around to actually working.
Yeah, and there's the problem. Because like every time he puts one of these petulant little fucking posts out saying like, oh, why do you guys give me such a hard time about not writing? It makes me want to write even less and it's so difficult to concentrate. Like, you know, fuck off. Just do your job. Okay? You did it for like 20, 30 years before this. Why is it so difficult now all of a sudden? Is it because you don't actually know what you're doing?
Pull up your suspenders, put on your cheese cutter hat, get in front of the computer, and just finish the damn thing.
I think, yeah, that's ultimately what it comes down to. But it's like he's either too old, too lazy, too fat, too preoccupied with all the TV shows and all the premieres and all the conventions and stuff to like actually sit down and put himself in front of his computer and actually work. Or he doesn't know how to end it, in which case he's kind of screwed either way because time is marching on. And you know, he's neither young nor in particularly good health. And there's a pretty good chance that he's not even going to get to finish Winds of Winter, never mind the Dream of Spring, the final the final book in the series. He ain't never going to finish that in his lifetime.
No, that's not it. Which
is, you know, it's a shame. But like, this is kind of a problem of his own making. So I don't have a huge amount of sympathy for him there. I'll finish up with this one because this is a multi-part super chat from Nikos, who says, "Hi Drinker, sorry for the many comments, but in Soviet Greece, money breaks you. To forget Rings of Power, I rewatched my favorite TV show, Battlestar Galactica. Its finale is now reevaluated by the fans, but in 2009 it divided them. Part of the reason why the show was hated was because of George R.R. Martin. At the peak of his popularity, even though he hadn't finished his books, he attacked Ronald Moore and the show by rallying his supporters against him. He's despicable. Check Battlestar's ending wiki page to see why I despise him. His show and books got exactly what he deserved. Karma's a bitch, asshole." Off topic, I don't know if you watch reactions to your videos, Drinker, but there's a YouTuber from my generation called BlueTube who reacts to them. Surprisingly, she actually listens to you and supports you. Watching someone so innocent react to your style is hilarious. Check her out if you want to, and perhaps one day you can invite her onto Open Bar. Regardless of her, I wanted you to know that you're doing what you're doing is working. Even people from Gen Z support you. Oh, truly, I've made it then. Thank you for your good work and keep it up. Thanks, man. And yeah, with regards to Battlestar Galactica, I don't know what George R.R. Martin did with it. Did any of you guys know about this?
Oh, didn't know he was involved.
No idea.
Hold on. I'm going to see if there's a. I'm going to see if there's a truncated version, just so that I can. Right.
I wonder if that that show from 15 years ago or so must feel kind of dated now or not. It'd be interesting to check that out.
Did he write that? Did Martin?
No, no, it was Ronald Moore who wrote it. So, fantasy author George R.R. Martin expressed his dissatisfaction, commenting, Battlestar Galactica ends with, God did it. Looks like somebody skipped writing 101, where you learn that a Deus Ex Machina is a crappy way to end a story. Yeah, sometimes the journey is its own reward. I certainly enjoyed much of the journey with Battlestar Galactica, but damn it, doesn't anybody know how to write an ending anymore? Oh, the fucking irony, George. Writing 101, kids, Adam and Eve, God did it. It was all a dream. I've seen Clarion students left stunned and bleeding for turning in stories with those endings. Yeah, so quite ironic, really, for George to criticize a story for not ending properly.
Yeah, I mean, with Battlestar Galactica, it's not the ending that really matters. Like he says, it's entirely the journey of that show, the malaise and tension of just constantly trying to survive and that journey. That's the thing in and of itself.
The aesthetic, the atmosphere, the emotional tone and stuff was all great. Yeah. And the individual stories, like the week-to-week stuff, was excellent. The overarching, like, quasi-religious, spiritual stuff, yeah, it felt like they didn't quite know where they were going with it. And yeah, I will agree, by the end, it felt like they just kind of stopped. Like they didn't really know what they were trying to say with it or where it was all going. It just like sputtered to a halt, which was a bit weird.
Like a J.J. Abrams thing. They just kept setting up mysteries that didn't have answers, and then
exactly, yeah. There was so many mysteries throughout the show. Like there's going to be some big mind-blowing revelation, and there kind of wasn't by the end. And it just felt like I don't know what you were trying to really say with any of this. And then it just kind of stops. So it's a bit of an odd one, but you know, overall the show I thought was good. Like compared to the original one from like the 70s and 80s, like yeah, this was something way better. Probably a good example of how you can actually do a remake and improve on the original. But yeah. Anyway, I'll probably finish up there because yeah, we've done a whole bunch of super chats there, and you gentlemen that have joined us tonight, I want to say thank you very much for coming on for Open Bar this evening. Echo, Space Ice, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you guys on for this. So thank you.
Pleasure as always.
For having me, sir.
Absolutely.
The links to both of their channels are in the description. So if you're not subscribed to both of them already, then please do so. And for you guys, is there anything coming up that you want to make us aware of? Any videos that you're about to release or whatever that you want us to know about?
Well, we're just in the middle of Steven Seagal's September of Stupid Syphilis and Strippers. So pretty excited about that. It's going to be all Seagal videos for September.
I did not know there were so many bad Seagal movies out there, but
we got plenty more to go.
Yeah.
Check out the Echo Chamberlain live stream every second Tuesday evening EST. If you want to know the heartrending backstory of the Orc family in episode 2, then I've a video devoted to that. And I'm putting together a new video of exploring the stupid new trend of reinventing and recontextualizing villains and how stupid that is. So keep an eye out for that.
Nice. Alrighty. Well, thank you, everyone. And for everyone that sent us super chats tonight, very much appreciate it. Whatever ones that we weren't able to answer, we will, of course, catch up with them on last orders. But for today, blah, that's all we've got for today. So go away now. Bye.